Let's go, everyone. Zhang Yun glanced at the major sects and clans around him, then was the first to step into the particle world. He didn't bother with the loose cultivators. He had already spoken clearly. When it came to them, he had done all he could. Whether they listened or not was no longer his concern. Immediately afterward, the Unified God Sect, the 3000 Dao Court, the Primal Chaos Demon Tower, and the newly arrived Golden Rock Immortal Realm all entered one after another. The rest of the crowd exchanged uncertain looks. Fellow cultivators, the path of cultivation has always been risk and opportunity side by side. If you're afraid even of this, what's the point of seeking immortality? Someone laughed heartily. Then he was the first to step into the particle world. After that, more and more people started pouring in. This friend, are you going in? The people from the Blade Axe sect asked Su Zimo. Let's go in together, it'll be safer. Since you've shared so much information with me, we'll go together then, Su Zimo replied. A great tide of people surged into the particle world. At the entrance, Su Zimo suddenly paused, frowning slightly. He sensed a familiar aura. After thinking carefully, he realized it was the same aura he had once encountered on those witch beasts in Green Serpent City of the Mountain Dragon God Dynasty. This particle world has something to do with the liches? Su Zimo muttered. What's wrong, Brother Su? Someone beside him asked. It's nothing. Let's go. Su Zimo waved his hand and stepped inside. As soon as he entered the particle world, Su Zimo realized it was unlike anything else. The scene before his eyes was more like a labyrinth. Everyone stood in a narrow cavern that branched in all directions, east, west, north, south, up and down. Some tunnels glimmered faintly with luminous crystals, while others were pitch black, suffocating to step into. What kind of particle world is this? Someone muttered. Everyone had been scattered randomly. Su Zimo didn't recognize anyone around him. Before he could react further, a shrill scream rang out. He turned and saw a black shadow, its hands like claws, grab a man by the throat and snap it clean. The man's head rolled. The shadow seemed to melt into the darkness. Su Zimo couldn't make out its face at all. A moment later it was gone, as though it had never existed. Su Zimo frowned, moving forward along the tunnel. He hadn't gone far when another scream echoed in the distance. Someone else had died. What kind of place is this? A terrified voice shouted. I want out. What the hell is that thing? It comes and goes without a trace. Panic spread. Some people froze, too afraid to move forward. Su Zimo pressed on, but suddenly a chill wind brushed past his ear, raising goosebumps all over his body. A shadow appeared behind him, silent as a ghost. With a bang, its claws were blocked by Shadow Tyrant. Su Zimo spun, trying to seize it, but his hand closed on nothing. The figure dissolved into the dark again. Su Zimo's frown deepened, but then Paimon's voice came from within the god world. Master, this is the 9 heavens 10 earths interwoven formation. You know of it? Su Zimo asked. How do I get out? To break this formation, you must first understand its principle, Paimon explained. Most formations rely on array plates, seals, or more advanced array diagrams and flags. Formations are built on the balance of truth and illusion, real wrapped in false, false hidden in real. But this 9 heavens 10 earths interwoven formation is different. What's different? Su Zimo pressed. It is not conjured by formation seals, so strictly speaking it has no formation core. That makes it vastly harder to break, Paimon said. This kind of formation uses the particle world itself as the medium, carving the formation directly into its fabric. Which means where you stand is all real, not illusion. I see. This entire place is real, Su Zimo muttered. Then why don't I just destroy it? The formation seems to have been set by a saint sovereign. Unless your strength exceeds his, you cannot forcibly break it. Paimon shook his head. A saint sovereign? Isn't this supposed to be the bright emperor's particle world? Su Zimo frowned again. If you want to unravel this formation, master, you must find its medium objects, Paimon explained. The latest _IP_SODIes are on _the novel, Fire Net. There may be one, or there may be dozens. Could be a blade of grass, a flower, a fish, anything. There's no fixed form. That troublesome, huh? Su Zimo muttered. He had never encountered something like this before. The 9 heavens are not like the primordial heartlands. The longer you stay here, the more you'll feel the vastness of this world, Paimon said. One person breaking this formation isn't impossible, but it is extremely difficult. That's why you'll need allies. Allies? The Dao courts have probably already formed their own pacts, Su Zimo replied. Slowly, he took out his heaven derivation astrolabe. Though it couldn't break the formation, it could at least show him people's positions. As the star disk appeared, starlight spread, driving some of the darkness away. As it spun, suddenly, a huge hand shot out of the shadows, trying to snatch the star disk. I've been waiting for you, Su Zimo barked. With a wave of his hand, the void solidified. Darkness receded, and starlight illuminated the attacker. It was a half-human, half-beast monstrosity. A lich, Su Zimo muttered. He had seen them before, and this was unmistakably one of their kind. Its face was covered in hair, its mouth a beak, while the rest of its body resembled a human's. Caught by Su Zimo, the lich said nothing, it simply self-destructed. The violent explosion nearly buried the entire tunnel. This particle world is getting more and more interesting, Su Zimo said with a smile. The star disk spun again. Starlight scattered, showing traces of others' presence. But there were too many people inside. He couldn't distinguish loose cultivators from the great sex. Thinking of this, Su Zimo took out the token Baitai had given him. Placing it on the star disk, he began a new divination. The token carried Baitai's unique aura, which the disk captured. Starlight fell once more. Found you. Su Zimo's eyes narrowed, staring toward the distance. But at that exact moment, the other party reacted swiftly, cutting off the starlight connection in an instant. So fast, Su Zimo muttered, and his figure shot off toward the location. Su Zimo moved swiftly, passing through countless caverns and tunnels. Although the starlight had been cut off, he had already memorized the location. A few flashes, and the lurking shadows along the way couldn't even brush the hem of his robe. The further he went, the wider the tunnels became, and the more lich lay in hiding. Finally, when he reached the place where the starlight had flickered earlier, he was surprised to find Baitai standing there, waiting for him. You're here, Baitai said with a smile. I knew you'd find me. What do you want? Su Zimo asked calmly. Will you sell me that infernal heart of yours? Baitai asked again. Repeating yourself makes it boring, Su Zimo replied. You want to enter the true particle world. I can take you there, Baitai said. Otherwise, relying on your own strength, you'll never get out of here in your lifetime. That's my offer. Is that a threat? Su Zimo raised his head slightly. Not really, just stating a fact. Baitai shook his head. Google search novelfire.net. Su Zimo lifted his hand, vast spiritual energy surging. With a boom, the void shattered, collapsing a swath of tunnels as he reached for Baitai. Stepping forward, his aura bore down like a storm. Baitai retreated rapidly. If you're unwilling, then break through this labyrinth on your own. Su Zimo followed closely, smiling. No need to make it so troublesome. I just have to follow you. Baitai's eyes narrowed. His steps flickered like a ghost's through the maze. Under his feet, white clouds rippled like waves, drifting and shifting. But no matter how he tried to escape, he couldn't shake Su Zimo. The two chased and evaded each other through the labyrinth for over 10 minutes, until Baitai finally stopped in resignation. So, you're determined to stick with me. The road is open. I can walk it however I please, Su Zimo replied. Baitai frowned. In that case, it seems I can't avoid this. His aura surged like a tidal wave, overwhelming and vast. You're not my match, Su Zimo said. You can't know without fighting, Baitai snorted. He lunged forward, striking with his palm. Su Zimo stepped back half a step, clenched his fist, and met the blow head-on. Neither of them used full strength, it was more of a probing exchange. The terrain itself made full battle impractical. With a thunderous boom, the impact shook the tunnels, collapsing countless passages, nearly burying them both. This was the strength of the 9 heavens 10 earths interwoven formation. Seemingly fragile, yet endless, impossible to destroy by brute force. Su Zimo stood firm, unmoved, while Bai Tai was knocked backward. "Do you want to continue?" Su Zimo asked. "Let's cooperate instead," Bai Tai proposed. "You wanted that from the start, didn't you?" Su Zimo said. This formation was too special, breaking it alone was nearly impossible. And earlier, when Su Zimo had found him, Bai Tai could have cut off the starlight and left. Yet he had stayed, waiting. Whether in the chase or in the clash, Bai Tai's real purpose was to test Su Zimo's worthiness as a partner. "You're qualified," Bai Tai said with a smile. "Why choose to work with me?" Su Zimo asked. After all, the great powers were already cooperating with one another. He and Bai Tai had no prior connection. "Because I don't trust them," Bai Tai replied. "This matter is not simple. I won't step into it with people I can't rely on." "And yet you trust me?" Su Zimo asked. "Not exactly, but at least you and I have no direct conflict of interest. With 2 of us working together, we have some assurance. If one of us falls, neither of us will get out alive," Bai Tai explained. "I can accept your proposal," Su Zimo said, "but you'll have to tell me everything you know." "You want to ask about the Lich?" Bai Tai asked. "You must have heard of them. What do they have to do with this realm?" Su Zimo asked. "We suspect this is their base," Bai Tai answered. "So you're here to wipe them out? Since when were you so kind-hearted?" Su Zimo chuckled. "Partly, but not entirely," Bai Tai said. "The Lich calamity back then devastated the mortal Ascension Heaven. Many treasures were plundered by them. The great powers here have all come seeking what their sex once lost." "Then I have no need to enter," Su Zimo said. "Since you're already here, wouldn't it be a shame not to take a look?" Bai Tai smiled. "We suspect the Bright Emperor died in there." Su Zimo smiled faintly, then asked, "Have you heard of the Shenyuan clan?" "What, are you also coveting the Grand Pivot Godsword?" Bai Tai asked. "Just answer me," Su Zimo said. "If I knew, that sword would already be in my hand." Bai Tai laughed. After Grand Emperor Xuanyuan's era ended, the Shenyuan clan declined. They went into hiding, carrying the Grand Pivot Godsword with them. Long ago, they vanished from the world. Then Bai Tai added with a grin, "I may not know, but there is someone who certainly does." "Who?" Su Zimo asked. "The first oracle, Gongyang Su," Bai Tai enunciated carefully. "And who is that?" "The greatest diviner of the Azure frontier. He calculates heaven and earth, knows the heavenly court above and the netherworld below. There is nothing in this world he does not know," Bai Tai said. "Even the opening and location of this bright emperor's particle world. He was the one who told us." "Where can I find him?" Su Zimo asked. "North River City," Bai Tai said without hesitation. "But his fees are exorbitant. He doesn't answer every question. Just the price for the bright emperor's particle world was something only several great powers together could afford." "I understand," Su Zimo nodded. "Now tell me about this formation. Escaping it is what matters most." "This array has 3 medium objects," Bai Tai explained. "With 3 people it would be fastest. But since it's just the 2 of us, here's the plan. In the southeast lies a stone stele. In the northwest, an ancient tree. We'll each go for one, then meet in the northeast. There, we'll seize the 3rd medium object, a beast bone. Then let's split up," Su Zimo said. "You take the ancient tree, I'll take the stone stele. Just don't die, at least not before the formation is broken," Bai Tai chuckled. "Even if you die, I won't," Su Zimo replied. The 2 parted ways. Su Zimo headed southeast. He soon realized the so-called labyrinth only existed in the central region. The further he went, the more open the terrain became. Light began to appear ahead. Stepping out of the tunnels, the oppressive atmosphere vanished, replaced by a desolate, abandoned land. Looking up, Suzimo saw a dark sky, shrouded as though by heavy black clouds. Ahead, beneath his feet, stretched a barren wasteland of yellow earth, deathly still. A few claw-like trees stood there, eerie and sinister. Their trunks seemed long dead, peeling bark dropping away in flakes. Several crows with gloomy eyes glared sternly at him. They rustled their wings, scattering black feathers that drifted down. Suzimo advanced. Dry leaves crunched beneath his boots. In the next instant, the crows lunged at him like death itself. Their wings were like blades, their feathers like razors. Each slash through the void was like cutting tofu, space splitting into fragments. Suzimo drew Shadow Tyrant, slashing out. Shrieks filled the air as countless crows were annihilated under his blade. But in the next moment, the black mist of their remains condensed into new crows. One became two. Two became four. Endless, multiplying, impossible to kill off. Suzimo couldn't be bothered to waste time. He sprinted forward, aiming for the steel. Behind him, the swarm of crows pursued. Ahead, towering pines began to rise. Each tree stood over 10 meters tall, with ferocious faces on their trunks. Upon seeing Suzimo, they tore free from the ground, surging toward him. It seemed that in this 9 heavens 10 earths interwoven formation, all lich were truly unkillable. Suzimo ignored them. The nomological truth of spacetime surged. His right hand clenched tight, seizing the surrounding void. In the next moment, time froze. Silence fell all around. Suzimo stepped through the still void, bypassing the layers of encirclement, and pressed forward. Behind him swarmed the crows and claw trees. At last, he reached the end of this small world. ssnovlfire.net. He stopped before a field of graves. Thousands of tombs stretched into the horizon. From them, blood-stained hands clawed out of the earth. Soil split open as corpse-like monsters crawled forth, mangled flesh, horrific visages, eyes like bloody holes. They shrieked and rushed at him, joining the pursuit of the crows and trees. Truly undying? Suzimo snorted coldly. He clenched his fist again, freezing the void. Then, with one hand, he summoned the infinite power of fire. Casting it into the sky, flames engulfed the heavens. The blaze consumed everything in sight. No matter how many times they revived, the flames burned them down again and again. Suzimo walked forward toward the gravestones. There were thousands of them. Searching one by one would take too long. So he took out the heaven derivation astrolabe. Starlight spread across the land. He didn't need the exact steel, only its general range. With a sudden boom, a mass of black fog struck the star disk in his hand, fell to the ground. Suzimo looked up. The flames above were torn apart, and from the sky descended a creature like the Reaper itself. It had a human body but the head of a dog. It wielded a scythe, the Tao of death surging around it. An emperor? Suzimo muttered in surprise. Sensing the terrifying aura, his brow furrowed. It seemed like an emperor, but something was off. Death's power poured outward in waves. The dog-headed creature wasted no words, lunging at Suzimo. Its scythe fell, harvesting countless unseen lives. Shadow Tyrant clashed against it. The ground split, soil exploding into the air. The vortex of power within Suzimo spun wildly. The shadow of the heaven-shattering giant roared, charging the dog-headed lich. Explosions thundered through the void. "You're not enough," Suzimo said firmly. Shadow Tyrant erupted with power, blasting the creature backward. He advanced in a flash, blade gleaming bright. Each step cracked the air with sonic booms. The curved blade fell again, lightning flashing, thunder roaring. The dog-headed beast raised its scythe to block. But Shadow Tyrant's blade flared with the Aryan swastika god seal. The vast mark branded its body, then detonated. The Tao of death around it grew denser. Suzimo smiled faintly, his own aura of death erupting as well. His strikes came faster, each slash more domineering than the last. The beast could only retreat, fresh wounds carved into its body each time. At last, Su Zimo's bladework overwhelmed it, hacking its body into minced flesh. Death's energy wrapped the pieces, carrying them away until nothing remained. A false emperor, Su Zimo scoffed. Just a remnant shadow dares block me? He picked up the fallen astrolabe. Starlight spread again, bathing the stone steels. He approached one, sheathed Shadow Tyrant, and grabbed it with both hands. With a mighty pull, he uprooted it completely. The steel rose into his grasp. But as soon as it was removed, another appeared in its place. Su Zimo understood. This was the nature of the 9 heavens 10 earths interwoven formation. The next person to escape would also need to collect these medium objects. As long as the formation endured, the mediums would never vanish. Carrying the steel, Su Zimo stepped through the void toward the rendezvous point. This time, no lich blocked his way. He arrived smoothly at the appointed place. Bai Tai was waiting, but he wasn't alone. Beside him stood a lich. Clad in black robes, the figure stood calmly. "You've come?" the lich said with a smile, looking at Su Zimo. Su Zimo frowned slightly and glanced at Bai Tai beside him. Bai Tai shrugged a little, indicating he didn't know either. "What's this about?" Su Zimo asked. He slowly drew Shadow Tyrant, looking toward the figure. "I didn't come here to fight," the lich said with a smile, waving his hand dismissively. Seeing Su Zimo's furrowed brows, he chuckled. "I'm here to help you obtain the third medium, the beast bone." "Why?" Su Zimo asked. The other was helping him for no apparent reason. "Isn't that what you wanted?" the lich replied. "You want to leave this 9 heavens 10 earths formation. We can manage on our own," Su Zimo said. But the lich didn't answer. Instead, he raised his right hand and released a mass of black mist toward the mountainside ahead. The next moment, bestial roars echoed one after another. The mountain wall split and crumbled, the entire peak collapsing into rubble. From within, a gigantic beast burst forth. It was a flame lion, colossal in size. Compared to it, the people on the ground looked no bigger than ants. Its roar carried a thick, bloody stench. Spotting the 3 figures on the ground, the flame lion raised its massive right paw and slammed down. With a thunderous boom, the paw froze midair. The lich had struck forward with his right fist, shattering the surrounding void. Claw and fist clashed, locked in the sky. With a roar, the lich's frail body unbelievably forced the enormous lion back. Bai Tai did not intervene but instead stepped beside Su Zimo, asking, "What's going on?" "I don't know either." Su Zimo shook his head. "These liches, they're getting harder to see through," Bai Tai said. "I have a bad feeling about this trip." "Your unified god sect really is something," Su Zimo replied. "If you wanted to destroy the liches, you should have just sent your ancestors. What good is it for a young lord like you to come?" "The sect has its own reasons," Bai Tai said with a smile. Su Zimo didn't answer, his gaze fixed on the battle ahead. The fight between the lich and the beast had already reached a fever pitch. Though small in frame, the lich completely overwhelmed the flame lion. Finally, with immense force, he struck the lion's back. The flame lion let out a mournful cry, collapsing to the ground. Without giving it a chance to resist, the lich flashed forward, drove his hand into the beast's belly, and wrenched out a glowing white beast bone. The bone shone faintly, like fireflies. With its beast bone ripped out, the flame lion's eyes dimmed, life slipping away. "Gentlemen," the lich turned, smiling as he tossed the bone to Su Zimo and Bai Tai. "Our king awaits you." Saying this, he vanished without giving them a chance to respond. The two exchanged a look, then stared at the bone in hand. "No matter what schemes are at play, we'll know once we see for ourselves." They brought out the 3 medium items, preparing to fuse them when suddenly, "Hand them over, both of you." The sudden voice startled Bai Tai, who looked up sharply. A group of figures tore through the void and appeared. The pressure they exuded was immense. Among them were Sword Immortal Zhang Yun, Gue Che of the Primal Chaos Demon Tower, Yu Huang of the Golden Rock Immortal Realm, and Di Tsongtian of the 3000 Dao Court. The four descended from the storming void, gazing at Su Zimo and Bai Tai. "Brother Bai, that's not very righteous of you." Yu Huang stepped forward with a smile. "We agreed to break this formation together. Yet you secretly teamed up with others and deceived us." "All's fair in war," Bai Tai replied coolly. "What? Do you mean to take them by force?" "We don't want to make things hard for you, Brother Bai," Yu Huang said. "Hand over the mediums, and you can walk away." "That's impossible," Bai Tai refused outright. "If you fight us now, both sides will only suffer, leaving the liches to reap the benefit." "Brother Bai, don't play games with us," Yu Huang sneered. "You think we didn't see what just happened?" "What do you mean?" Bai Tai frowned, a bad premonition rising. "You've already thrown your lot in with the liches, haven't you?" Di Tsongtian said coldly. "Letting you leave was our bottom line. Refuse, and we'll cut you down as we would the liches." At those words, Su Zimo and Bai Tai exchanged glances. "These liches, what a scheme. They want us at each other's throats." In an instant, the liches' ploy was clear. They knew the Flame Lion couldn't stop Su Zimo and Bai Tai, so the lich deliberately intervened, letting others witness the scene. Whether true or not, Su Zimo and Bai Tai were now marked with suspicion. The group would inevitably split into factions. At best, they'd separate. At worst, they'd clash for the mediums. And the liches? They could sit back and watch the tigers fight. "Well, have you decided?" Yu Huang asked. While speaking, the four subtly shifted, sealing Su Zimo and Bai Tai's escape routes. "Don't expect me to hand them over willingly," Bai Tai said. "We have no ties to the liches. If you won't believe it, then fight. I've nothing more to say." "Fight it is," Di Tsongtian said coldly. "You think you two can leave here today?" Power surged around him, 3,000 Dao threads swirling. "Wait!" Zhang Yun suddenly stepped forward, stopping him. He looked at Su Zimo and asked, "You seem familiar, fellow Taoist, though I can't recall where we've met. Would you remind me?" "Primordial Heartlands," Su Zimo smiled. "Strictly speaking, I haven't met you, but I did encounter the remnant soul you left in a small world." "I remember now," Zhang Yun nodded slightly. "You delivered my legacy back to the Zhang clan. How fares it now?" Discover more novels at novaifire.net. "I think you already know your family's fate," Su Zimo replied. Hearing this, Zhang Yun fell silent. Ever since he accepted the Holy Progenitor's gift, became a sword immortal, and guarded the blood-rune space, the Zhang clan's fate had long been sealed. Though Su Zimo had agreed with the blood-rune beasts not to commit atrocities, that only applied to the fragment of the blood-rune space tied to the ancient celestial court. As for the other spaces scattered across the primordial heartlands, their fates rested in the blood beast's hands. "Regardless, my thanks, fellow Taoist," Zhang Yun said softly. "Since you've come to the 9 heavens, then tell me, who is this era's Grand Emperor?" He was curious. For someone to enter the 9 heavens, they had to be either a current Grand Emperor or a top-tier powerhouse who'd followed one into the passage. But before Su Zimo could answer, Di Tsongtian suddenly let out a cold snort. From the lower worlds, how many true powerhouses could there be? Hearing Di Tsongtian's words, Zhang Yun frowned slightly. "Brother Di, mind your tongue. I wasn't referring to you," Di Tsongtian explained. "It's just that small worlds truly can't compare. Many people fail to adjust to the change in status. In your small world, you may have been supreme, but here in the 9 heavens, you're nothing. Whether you're a dragon, you must coil. A tiger, you must lie down." His meaning was plain. The so-called Grand Emperors of small worlds were insignificant here. Strictly speaking, he wasn't wrong. Even the greatest emperor of primordial heartlands, when arriving in the 9 heavens, could at most be considered middling. But such words should not come from him, someone who hadn't even reached the level of immortal sovereign. What right did he have to say such things? Su Zimo raised his eyes slightly to look at him. An insect that isn't even at Nirvana void dares spout such arrogance? His right hand clenched, and the surrounding void froze under immense pressure. From the shattered void, Su Zimo shot forward, unleashing a lightning-charged kick. Boom! 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 The strike carried the weight of 10,000 tons. Di Tsangtian snorted coldly and swung his right fist to meet it. With a deafening boom, his figure was blasted backward, rolling several times across the ground before finally stopping. You court death. Di Tsangtian stood up, his eyes icy as he glared at Su Zimo. What's wrong? Su Zimo said calmly, waving his hand dismissively. 3,000 Dao threads swirled around Di Tsangtian's body. With a wave, they split into countless strands, each transforming into a stream of light. Official source is novelfire.net. The streams converged before him, forming a colossal sword. Gripping the sword, Di Tsangtian's body flared with cyan brilliance, storms coalescing around him. Kill! He roared. The massive sword cleaved down, tearing through sky and cloud, striking at Su Zimo. Clang! Su Zimo raised Shadow Tyrant overhead, blocking the blade. The clash sent boundless force rippling through both sword and saber. Bring your 3,000 Grand Emperors, and perhaps there'd be something worth seeing. But you, a mere ant, dare draw a sword before me? Su Zimo said coldly. The vast imperial might surged, entwined with the power of death. With a swing of his blade, the heavens and earth quaked. One saber strike split wind and thunder. Di Tsangtian desperately raised his giant sword to block. Boom! Shadow Tyrant smashed against the blade, and the force drove Di Tsangtian deep into the ground, half his body buried in earth. The saber spun once and thrust toward his throat. Still met flesh. Su Zimo yanked him up by the collar, dragging him out of the ground. Honored one, I beg you to stay your hand, Yu Huang shouted hastily from the side. Su Zimo turned to glance at him. Yu Huang quickly explained, fighting here will only benefit the liches. Brother Tsangtian offended you. As long as you spare his life, you may punish him however you wish. What? Since when does your Golden Rock Immortal Realm plead on behalf of the 3,000 Dao Court? Su Zimo asked. I am not pleading for him, Yu Huang said seriously. But if he dies here, the 3,000 Dao Court will not let it rest. When that happens, the entire Azure Frontier will fall into chaos. Right now, with the Lich threat upon us, we should stand united. Even if the Liches destroy this mortal ascension heaven, what does it matter to me? Su Zimo retorted. We small world folk could never compare to you 9 heavens elites anyway. Honored one, please, grant us some face. Name your condition and we will meet it. Yu Huang said helplessly. Any condition? Su Zimo asked. As long as it's within our power, Yu Huang replied. Think of it as for the future of the mortal ascension heaven. As he spoke, his gaze shifted toward Zhang Yun, hoping the sword immortal would intervene. But Zhang Yun remained silent. I'll be heading to North River City soon, Su Zimo said. To find Gongyang Su? Yu Huang immediately caught on. I hear his price is steep, Su Zimo said meaningfully. Rest assured, whatever terms he sets, we will do our utmost to help you, Yu Huang promised. Su Zimo looked down at Di Tsangtian. Through clenched teeth, Di Tsangtian forced himself to reply. The 3,000 Dao Court will not shirk its duty. Only then did Su Zimo toss him aside. The state of the small worlds is not yours to comment on. I understand. Di Tsangtian quickly nodded, retreating backward. At this moment, Zhang Yun finally smiled. So you are this era's Grand Emperor. I hadn't expected to meet you here, Su Zimo replied. Why not join forces? Zhang Yun suggested. And what benefit would destroying the liches bring me? Su Zimo countered. Then why did you enter this small world? Zhang Yun asked. I merely happened upon it and came to look. Whom I destroy or not, I care little, Su Zimo answered. The leaders of the major factions exchanged glances. Since you're here, even if you bear no ill will, the liches won't let you go, Guiche said. He was from the Primal Chaos Demon Tower, resembling a 9-headed bird, crimson-feathered, flames flickering faintly in his eyes. In that case, it's another matter, Su Zimo said. Why not work together and explore this small world? Yu Huang proposed. It's safer, and we can watch each other's backs. Bai Tai looked to Su Zimo. After all, the 3 medium items were theirs together. I don't mind, Su Zimo said. Bai Tai nodded and slowly took out the 3 mediums, the stone steel, the ancient tree, and the beast bone. They shot into the sky, rotating as waves of power spread through the formation. In the next moment, the array split open, as if the void itself had been torn apart. The group exchanged glances, then stepped into the rift. Their vision shifted. They emerged in a desert, buried beneath endless yellow sand. The scorching wind lashed across their faces. Not far ahead stood a solitary figure, calm and unmoving. He wore a golden imperial robe, looking to be in his 30s, with a just, resolute face and brows radiating authority. At his waist hung the sword of the Son of Heaven. He stood quietly, watching them. Bright Emperor, Yu Huang asked in shock. You've come, Bright Emperor said with a smile. You were waiting for us here? Yu Huang asked. Kill me. Bright Emperor drew the sword of the Son of Heaven from his waist and tossed it into the sand before them. His words left everyone stunned. Bright Emperor, don't joke, Guiche said with a laugh. We came here to find the liches. I am one, Bright Emperor replied. His long black hair whipped though there was no wind, and demonic light burst from his eyes. As the demonic aura erupted, Bright Emperor's gaze turned bestial, surging with the might of a savage beast. A shroud of black mist enveloped his body. Kill me, he said again, staring at the Emperor's sword in his hand. Don't waste your effort. You cannot kill him. At that moment, from within the black fog behind Bright Emperor, a human face emerged, speaking faintly. Who are you? Zhang Yun demanded. The 3000 Dao Court, the Primal Chaos Demon Tower, the Golden Rock Immortal Realm, and the Unified God Sect, you little ones have all gathered, the face laughed. What's this? The old monsters didn't come? Just sending juniors here to die. Who exactly are you? Yu Huang asked. Why, isn't it for us that you've come this time? The face chuckled. From the black mist grew 2 arms, which seized Bright Emperor and dragged him off into the distance. Kill me. Bright Emperor's voice continued to echo. Don't let them take him. Zhang Yun barked sharply. His aura flared, and he was the first to give chase. The others all followed, trying to pursue Bright Emperor. But midway, countless liches swooped in. They surrounded the group, not attacking, only obstructing, disrupting their advance. You will be imprisoned here. The face's voice carried from afar. This chapter is updated by novelfire.net. When our lich race returns to the light of day, you may have your freedom back. The next moment, the liches vanished. From all around them, black beams of light shot into the heavens, staining the sky. Then, like the bars of a prison, they descended, trapping everyone inside. Su Zimo felt out the aura. The black mist carried a corrosive power, not only against the flesh, but also capable of dissolving the soul and true fate in an instant. Touch it and one would surely die. What now, everyone? Su Zimo asked. He knew these people must have a way. It seems Bright Emperor has indeed perished here, Zhang Yun said, frowning. Though Bright Emperor had shown his face just now, everyone sensed that only an empty shell remained. His true fate and Dao source had already been corrupted. Gongyang Su was right. The liches are only 1 step away, Guiche muttered. We've come just in time. Seeing Su Zimo's puzzled look, Bai Tai explained, Do you know why we've all gathered here? To search for the sect's lost treasures, Su Zimo answered. You told me before, but I didn't believe it. Yes, that's part of it, Bai Tai admitted. But that wasn't the full truth. so I couldn't reveal it before. He continued, the Lich race has a new scheme. They seek to rekindle the calamity of the Liches. We received word long ago, so we went to Gongyang Su to divine the heavens for us. Who would have thought the matter would be tied to Bright Emperor himself? And then, Su Zimo asked, the situation is more complicated than you think. Rather than explain, I think what you're about to see for yourself will be more convincing, Bai Tai said. From his storage ring, he took out a strange object, a cage of insects. But these were no ordinary bugs. Each glowed faintly, like eternal flames, flickering but never extinguishing. The prison around us is formed from Lich aura, Bai Tai explained. These are Lich-eating insects. They can help us escape. So you had preparations all along, Su Zimo remarked. If everything is proceeding as planned, our forebears should already be stationed outside this small world, Yu Huang added. When the time comes, not a single Lich will escape. His voice brimmed with killing intent, cold and severe. The forebears, he mentioned, naturally referred to the founding ancestors and strongest figures of each Dao court. Everything was within the plan, Gui Che rumbled, casting a glance at Bai Tai. But some have ulterior motives, wanting to split off and claim all the merit for themselves. His meaning was obvious. Bai Tai had tried to cooperate with Su Zimo, ensuring that the credit would be his alone, since Su Zimo had no use for such merit. I only meant to leave myself a fallback, in case something went wrong, Bai Tai chuckled. Yu Huang said nothing further. Instead, he released the Lich-eating insects. They buzzed into flight, swarming toward the thick Lich aura. These are a foreign species, found especially to counter the Liches, Yu Huang explained, watching as the insects gnawed at the dark mist. Before long, they had chewed open a small opening in the prison. Go! The group exchanged a look, then darted through the gap. But Su Zimo did not follow. He remained inside. What's wrong, brother? Bai Tai asked. You all go ahead. I'll wait here. Su Zimo smiled. Do you not wish to know the truth? Yu Huang asked. The more one knows, the duller it becomes, and there's no benefit to it. Su Zimo waved. I won't meddle in your affairs. The others studied him, doubt flickering in their eyes. If that is your wish, we won't press you, Yu Huang said with a smile. The group exited. The insects were retrieved, and the prison sealed once more. When all around had quieted again, Su Zimo finally raised his head and smiled faintly. Now then, what do you want from me? The heavens above rippled without a sound. Unnoticed, a figure had appeared in the sky. It was the very same Lich who had earlier slain the flame lion and seized the beast bone for Su Zimo. This matter, we do not wish to be enemies with you, the Lich said. You know me? Su Zimo asked. I don't, but someone does, the Lich replied. This is muddy water. For you, it holds no profit, nor harm. Who? Su Zimo frowned. I cannot say, but you will meet in time, the Lich said. Whatever you wish to ask, I can answer. But truly, we do not want to fight you. Su Zimo fell silent, thinking. This matter's gains and losses indeed had nothing to do with him. I want to know about Bright Emperor, Su Zimo finally said. Please, follow me, the Lich gestured. With a wave of its hand, the prison dissolved, and before them appeared a gate of void. Following the Lich, Su Zimo stepped inside. At once, he felt a peculiar power, as if time itself were being rewound. Traces of the great river of time flowed all around him. He strode across the void, as though walking upon that river, pursuing the origins of events. Suddenly, the void trembled, and the scene began to spin, overturning heaven and earth. This was a world buried in wind and sand. The sky was nothing but yellow dust, sweeping across heaven and earth. Storms of sand rolled endlessly, like sandstorms raging across the land. It was an age of gray desolation. Suddenly, in this empty, lifeless world, footsteps echoed. A man in a yellow dragon robe, holding the son of heaven's sword, strode forth from the distant horizon, each step shattering the firmament as he came. Bright Emperor, Su Zimo murmured. Just keep watching, the lich beside him said with a smile. The man arrived, gazing at the boundless storm of sand. The ground trembled. One by one, liches clawed out from beneath the earth and charged him. The man's eyes were calm. The son of heaven's sword in his hand shook the void with its intent, his black hair flowing like ink. With a single swing, everything was annihilated. His footsteps echoed again as he pressed forward. At last, he stopped before a statue. The statue cracked open, and from within crawled a massive monster. It lifted its claws, sketching the figure of a woman in the air before smashing it apart with a single strike. The man's face darkened with anger. Drawing the emperor's sword, he leapt forward, his imperial might flooding heaven and earth like a world-destroying tide. The monster fell before him, but as its body disintegrated, it dissolved into black mist and merged into the man's body. The man groaned, but continued forward. The further he went, the more monsters he encountered. Yet imperial might surged, and the son of heaven's sword became the scythe of death in his hand. One life after another was reaped, but each slain monster turned into black chi, seeping into him. At last, when the final monster fell, the man's body was nearly destroyed. This content belongs to Novelire.net. His eyes were pitch black. From his shattered flesh, black vapors seeped outward. Before him now rose a long, towering staircase. Supporting himself with the emperor's sword, he climbed step by step. At last, he reached the final step and saw what awaited. There was a stone altar. Upon it lay a woman. Her face was plain, but the man who had slaughtered countless foes now moved with the greatest care, gently stroking her cheek. She slept on, and 2 streams of scalding tears ran down his face. For the first time he spoke. "If you die, my life ends as well. But if I die, your life will still be long and beautiful." The woman's form dissolved into light and vanished. The man, still holding the son of heaven's sword, collapsed to his knees, drowning in agony. It was the torment of being on the brink of death yet unable to die. In the end, his figure was completely swallowed by darkness. The vision faded. Bit by bit, it dispersed, and Su Zimo found himself back in the small world. "Bright Emperor's fate," he murmured. Even as a grand emperor, he could not escape the troubles of mortal life, the lich said with a smile. His end was already written. "You make it sound as if liches are free from all bonds, transcendent," Su Zimo replied. "I too have desires," the lich laughed. "Only, I am not troubled by such lowly matters." With a wave of his hand, the void split open, revealing a path to the outside world. "Step through and you'll reach the azure frontier. I wish you well," the lich said. Su Zimo walked up to the passage, but instead of entering, he reached out, touching the void before him. Then he suddenly turned back and asked, "What is a lich?" The lich froze for a moment, unable to answer. There are countless races in this world, humans, gods, immortals, demons, but are liches truly a race of their own? Su Zimo asked. "You'd best not ask so much. It will do you no good," the lich replied. "I only need one answer," Su Zimo said firmly. "What answer?" the lich asked. "You should know," Su Zimo replied. "I don't. And even if I did, I would tell you nothing." "Then I'll just have to use my fists to make you yield," Su Zimo said calmly. "I won't fight you." The lich shook his head. His form faded into the void, vanishing without a trace. Only his voice lingered. "If you come seeking, your fate will be the same as bright emperors. Even grand emperors are not undying. Paimon, tell me, was my intuition right?" Su Zimo chuckled. "If my lord has an idea, going to see for yourself may reveal much," Paimon replied. "Lich, such a bitterly ironic word," Su Zimo muttered. He stepped into the outside world. The surging lich aura battered against him, but left him unharmed as he walked through safely. Outside, the winds rose, sweeping yellow sand across the world. Before him stretched a road buried in sand. On either side, white bones lay scattered. Some sprawled across the road, others half buried beneath the dunes. It was clear that countless lives had perished here. Su Zimo paid it no heed. Slowly, he drew Shadow Tyrant from his back. Step by step, he advanced. With every step, a suppressive force fell from the void. 10-fold, 20-fold. The weight grew. He smashed upward with a punch, shattering the heavens above. From the sky, over a dozen lich statues plummeted down. The 12 lich kings guard this place. Turn back. A mighty voice thundered. Retreat 100 miles, and you may leave safely. Enough talk. If it's a fight you want, then come, Su Zimo said coolly. Shadow Tyrant flared with blinding blade light. Imperial might swept across the land. With a slash, heaven and earth trembled, and the 12 lich kings were struck down. Their eyes blazed as they raised their fingers, black nets of energy descending from the void. The nets sealed the sky itself. No matter how Su Zimo moved, he could not escape their bounds. It seemed the 12 lich kings did not wish to harm him, only to confine him. The Aryan swastika god seal, one of the 10 primordial god scriptures, Su Zimo invoked. His right hand struck, and a swastika-shaped mark illuminated the heavens, ripping the black nets apart. Boom! The heavens shook with rage. Shadow Tyrant cleaved downward, shattering the 12 statues into fragments. They crumbled into dust. Just as Su Zimo prepared to move forward again, a colossal hand suddenly descended from the sky. Enough! You should be fulfilling your mission. A commanding voice rang out as the hand pressed him down. When that immense pressure descended, Su Zimo's body was instantly suppressed in place. Boundless power poured down from the heavens without end. His 5 viscera and 6 organs, his limbs and bones all seemed to freeze. Even his true fate felt as if it were congealing. He lifted his head slightly. Above was nothing but darkness, the sky empty and indistinct. Though no figure had appeared, this oppressive force alone suppressed everything. Paimon and Sevenface were about to emerge, but Su Zimo stopped them. He gazed calmly at the heavens. There was no doubt this was a saint sovereign, a true saint sovereign. Since you've made a move, why not dare to show yourself? Su Zimo asked. You should be fulfilling your mission, not wasting time here on matters irrelevant to you. Came a faint voice from the dark sky. Then come out and speak to me, Su Zimo said. I won't converse with one who hides his head and tail. Leave this place. Do not meddle in the affairs of the liches. It will bring you no benefit. Leave. The voice continued, ignoring his demand. Su Zimo suddenly felt the weight upon his body loosen, his spiritual energy beginning to circulate again. That suffocating terror vanished. So you won't face me? Do you think I'm too weak? He muttered. But all around, there was only emptiness. The endless winds stirring sandstorms across the desert. Master, it should be them, Paimon's voice echoed. If he hadn't struck, I would have doubts. But with that strike just now, it's 100% certain. Su Zimo stayed silent. In the past, he was the one telling others such things. But this time, it was he who sighed. This world is really damn vast. At that moment, the world before him began to distort. The sweeping sands faded, and countless cracks split across the sky. The heavens collapsed. The particle world is shattering, Paimon said. The void ahead fractured. Cracks split across the ground, which then collapsed piece by piece. Su Zimo's body plummeted downward. Boom! Boom boom! Heaven and earth wailed. Thunder roared. Lightning flashed. Visions burst forth across the void. This was Su Zimo's first time witnessing the collapse of a particle world. The shattering of a particle world meant only one thing. Bright Emperor had fallen. Before, Bright Emperor still had a sliver of life remaining, enough to speak his last words, to beg others to kill him. Now he had likely fallen forever, becoming a lich. This was also the question Su Zimo had been pondering all along. Liches were not a natural race, but something created. Get full chapters from n0velfire.net. And the one behind it all was tied closely to him. The world collapsed, all laws thrown into chaos. Su Zimo felt heaven and earth overturned, explosions flashing like fire before his eyes. The next moment, boundless darkness engulfed him. He did not know how long had passed before he slowly awoke from the abyss of blackness. Opening his eyes, he found himself once again back in the valley where he had first entered. Around him lay many people, others expelled after the particle world's destruction. What happened? Someone stirred awake, bewildered. Has the particle world been destroyed? Su Zimo also spotted Jiang Yun and his group. They had woken earlier, and their faces were grim. What's wrong, friends? Su Zimo asked. We've been deceived, Bai Tai replied. Then he glanced at Su Zimo and asked, Fellow Taoist, do you know something of this? What could I possibly know? Su Zimo shook his head slightly. Those liches must have. Yu Huang sighed, leaving his words unfinished. They had thought the liches wanted to reignite the calamity of ages past, and they sought to stop it. But the truth had left them all deeply shaken. If the particle world had not shattered, they likely would not have escaped alive. Now the situation was dire, and they no longer knew the liches' whereabouts. What do you plan to do? Su Zimo asked. We discussed it, Jiang Yun replied. We want to unite with other Dao courts and form an alliance. Would Brother Taoist like to join us? No. Su Zimo shook his head. I plan to go to North River City to find Gongyang Su. The matter of the Grand Pivot Godsword was paramount. As for the liches, he already understood enough, and there was no need to entangle himself further. Do you know anything about the liches' origins? He asked. We've investigated before, but found nothing. They shook their heads. They appear as if from thin air, and vanish the same way. Saint Sovereign Brahma might know something, but he never told us. If you do know anything, please share it, Yu Huang said earnestly. For the sake of the entire mortal ascension heaven. Saint Sovereign, Su Zimo answered softly with just 2 words. As for the rest, whether he explained or not, they would understand. To fight the liches, they would need to find Saint Sovereign Brahma. Otherwise, their Dao courts alone would not be enough. Thank you. Yu Huang nodded. They had suspected as much. There were liches at the level of Saint Sovereigns. In the past, Brahma had slain them, shattering the liches' forces. But now, things were not so simple. You're going to North River City? Let us escort you, Yu Huang offered. No need. I can manage myself. Su Zimo shook his head. He asked for directions, learning that heading northwest, the second city along the road would be North River City, a city vast and renowned. Until we meet again, they said their farewells and departed the valley one by one. Su Zimo checked his bearings, then mounted the 7-winged demon dragon and set out for North River City. He did not stop along the way. Perhaps the events he had witnessed made him feel an increasing sense of urgency. With the 7-winged demon dragon flying at full speed, after 30 days, he reached the territory of North River City. From a distance, the city stretched beyond the horizon, seemingly without end. It was like the Great Wall, stretching all the way to the edge of the sky, with no boundary in sight. Ancient green bricks formed its unbroken walls. An ancient, oppressive aura emanated from it unconsciously. This was one of the greatest cities in the Azure Frontier, famed throughout the land. The gates were rusted with age, and yet the city had no ruler. Though North River City lay within the territory of the Unified God Sect, even they had no authority to govern it. There was no true sovereign here. Thus, its powers were many and entangled. The number of residents alone was in the billions. Daily traffic exceeded hundreds of billions. The vastness of the city was unimaginable. Su Zimo now stood before its gates. Merging with the endless crowd, he entered North River City. Earlier, Yu Huang and the others had already told him where Gongyang Su resided. This city of North River was strictly divided. The city was split into 4 regions: Heaven, Star, Tranquil, and Jade. The place where Gongyang Su resided was the Tranquil region. North of Tranquil was the land of lions and tigers. A night sky full of stars fills the courtyard. This children's rhyme described the scenery of Tranquil. Its northern lands were rugged like lions and tigers, while its southern half extended into the sea. The result was a landscape of scattered, starry brilliance. Su Zimo walked along the streets of Tranquil, where wide roads stretched in all directions. Before his eyes was a scene of flourishing prosperity. Fresh buns, just out of the steamer, piping hot buns. Tranquil noodles, authentic Tranquil noodles. Don't miss your chance. Su Zimo had never seen such a lively city. Boss, I want a skewer of candied hawthorn. Just then, a sweet voice drifted into Su Zimo's ears. The voice felt strangely familiar. Su Zimo turned his head and saw a young woman with her hair in braids, dressed in a patterned long dress. She held a skewer of candied hawthorn and was smiling brightly at him. Miss Jing, Su Zimo said in surprise. Long time no see, young Master Su, Miss Jing replied with a smile. She slowly lifted the candied hawthorn to her lips, bent slightly at the waist, and asked with a laugh, Want some? How are you here? Su Zimo asked. Waiting for you, Miss Jing smiled. Waiting for me? My master said someone would come to see him today, so he sent me out to receive them, Miss Jing explained with a smile. Your master is Gong Yangsu, Su Zimo instantly realized. You've only just figured it out? Miss Jing teased with a grin. Where is your master? Su Zimo asked, frowning. He told me to tell you that he doesn't wish to see you, Miss Jing said, and that he cannot answer your questions. He knows what I want to ask? Su Zimo smiled faintly. He didn't believe there was anyone in this world who truly knew everything. Even one who had traveled the river of fate would not. Perhaps Yu Huang and the others had notified Gong Yangsu in advance, but the odds of that were very slim. You want to ask about the Grand Pivot God Sword, don't you? Miss Jing laughed. If your master refuses to speak, do you know anything? Su Zimo asked. My cultivation is shallow. For matters that great, it has to be my master. Miss Jing shook her head. So you came just to tell me this? Su Zimo asked. Of course not. I want to help you, Miss Jing replied. How will you help? Well, I should get something in return, shouldn't I? What do you want? Su Zimo asked. Rumor has it that in the Jade Pool Holy Lands, there is 100,000-year-old snow lotus. I want you to bring it to me, Miss Jing said. Seeing Su Zimo remain silent, she smiled again and added, If you don't want to, that's fine. But aside from my master, it'll be nearly impossible for you to find the Shenyuan clan. You're threatening me? Su Zimo asked, looking up slightly. I know you're not one to bow to threats. Miss Jing smiled. How about this? I can first help you find the Grand Pivot God Sword. Later, you can decide whether to go to Jade Pool Holy Lands. Su Zimo thought for a moment, then nodded slightly. Follow me, Miss Jing said softly with a graceful smile, leading the way. They passed through the bustling markets of Tranquil. The streets teemed with people, a true scene of prosperity. Though the city had no ruler, it was unusually peaceful. Few dared cause trouble here, for this was an ancient city. At any moment, that old man selling vegetables by the street might turn out to be a hidden master. This was what it meant for tigers and dragons to lie concealed. Since coming to the outer heavens, have you been here the whole time? Su Zimo asked. Of course. This is my home, Miss Jing replied. Then why did you go to the primordial heartlands before? That's a secret, Miss Jing said with a playful smile as her steps came to a halt before a tall tavern. The tavern towered 100 stories high, piercing the clouds, its end invisible to the eye. Its decorations were so resplendent that they rivaled any imperial palace. See that? Miss Jing pointed to the tavern and said, Inside is a type of immortal brew, my master's favorite drink. If you can get some, I'm sure my master will agree to meet you. Immortal brew, Su Zimo murmured to himself. You're not coming in? He asked. I have to return and report or my master will be angry. Miss Jing waved her hand. Good luck. Watching her leave, Su Zimo's frown deepened. He had always harbored doubts about Miss Jing's identity. Now some truths had surfaced, but he still wasn't convinced. His gut told him things weren't that simple. But for now, the priority was finding the Grand Pivot Godsword and breaking the seal on the Infernal Heart. Other matters could wait. And as for the affairs of the witches and demons, since he was here in this lifetime, he had to see them through. He stepped into the tavern. Above its majestic doors hung a plaque that read, Primeval Tower, the characters shining brilliantly in the sunlight. This tavern was unlike any he had imagined. It was divided into countless private rooms. Guests ate and rested inside these rooms. When Su Zimo entered, no one paid him any attention. Only one attendant sat at the counter, calculating accounts. "I want a pot of immortal brew," Su Zimo said as he approached. "First time here, friend?" the attendant asked with a smile. "What are their rules?" Su Zimo asked. "The Primeval Tower may look like a tavern, but in truth it only provides a place for trade. We don't sell anything directly," the attendant explained with a smile. "If you want immortal brew, you can try the Immortal Brew Chamber private room and see if they're selling any. This update is available on novel-fire.net. He added with a reminder, "But immortal brew is very rare, always in short supply. It depends on your luck." Su Zimo nodded slightly. He headed deeper inside the tavern, down a quiet corridor. The soundproofing of the rooms was excellent. Following the attendant's directions, he came to a room with the character Immortal carved on its door. He knocked lightly. A small window on the side opened. "When?" a maid looked out and asked. "I want to buy immortal brew," Su Zimo replied. "This month's immortal brew is already gone. Come back next month," the maid answered. She was about to close the window, but Su Zimo stopped her. "I can't wait until next month." The maid glanced at him and said, "Then there's nothing we can do. Immortal brew is limited in supply." "You do have a way," Su Zimo said. "Consider it me owing you a favor. Give me 1 jar of immortal brew." "You're unreasonable," the maid frowned at him. She tried to close the window, but Su Zimo's hand held it firmly open, no matter how hard she tried. "What's wrong with you?" the maid complained. "I must have the immortal brew," Su Zimo repeated firmly. "If you keep this up, I'll report you to the Tower Master," the maid said impatiently. "I've never seen anyone cause trouble inside the Primeval Tower. Perhaps my words sound forceful, but I'll give you 2 choices," Su Zimo replied calmly. "Either you give me a jar of immortal brew and I'll owe you a favor, or I'll simply take it. If Immortal Brew Chamber doesn't have any, then there's none. Even if you try to rob us, you won't get it," the maid said, taking a deep breath. "At this time, Immortal Brew Chamber isn't brewing wine at all. Don't trouble her, friend." Just then, the door of a nearby private room opened. On its plaque were the 3 characters, Imperial Crown Island. From inside walked a middle-aged man who carried an air of authority, with 2 attendants following behind him. "Immortal Brew Chamber hasn't been peaceful lately. They don't have any immortal brew. If you want a drink, go upstairs and look. If someone has stock, you might be able to trade with them." "Do you have any?" Su Zimo asked. "I don't," the middle-aged man shook his head. "But I can take you upstairs." "Thanks," Su Zimo replied. Together, they walked up to the higher floors of the Primeval Tower. The maid snorted coldly and slammed the window shut. "Brother, how should I address you?" the middle-aged man asked. "Su Zimo. Zhou Ming of Imperial Crown Island," the man said with a smile, introducing himself. Su Zimo gave a slight nod. "Brother Su has never heard of my name?" Zhou Ming chuckled. Su Zimo shook his head. "Is it supposed to be famous? Then it seems this must be your first time in North River," Zhou Ming said with a smile and a shake of his head. While they talked, the 2 of them had already arrived at the upper floors of the Primeval Tower. Su Zimo glanced around. This floor looked more like a gathering hall. Many tables were laid out, each filled with spiritual fruits and wondrous pills. All around, people were engaged in conversation. Each one carried powerful cultivation. Their spiritual energy was unfathomable, immeasurable. In North River City, many people know one another. They often host Dao gatherings like this, a place for exchanging insights, debating, and discussing the Grand Dao. Zhou Ming explained with a smile. Su Zimo nodded slightly. The higher one climbed in cultivation, the more it depended on enlightenment. And enlightenment came in many forms, listening to the Tao of others, or exchanging Taoist methods. All of it had benefits. There were even legendary examples. In the Middle Ages, it was said that the holy progenitor of the heavenly court once gave a Tao sermon on sacred Ancestor Mountain. For 3 days he spoke. The skies rained down boundless radiance. Blazing suns rose into the heavens. Celestial cranes flew in from afar, and divine dragons soared through the world. On the ground, plants and trees blossomed wildly. What had been an ordinary mountain became, within 3 days, a fairyland and cave dwelling. When the sermon ended, all directions bowed in reverence. The 4 seas celebrated. An endless celestial rain fell from the heavens. That Tao gathering reportedly helped tens of thousands break through, with 30,000 members of the Abyss Devil race kneeling in worship. The holy progenitors might spread across the 9 heavens in an instant. Further back still, in the era before the Middle Ages, the ancient times, the god-devil Saint Sovereign attained the infinite Tao realm, and thus ruled that age. When he achieved his Tao, he too spoke for 3 days. The primal god race and Abyss Devil race alike stood in silence for 3 days, their blood dyeing the sky red to form a barrier, forbidding other races from approaching. For them, those 3 days were worth more than 1,000 years of cultivation. Of course, this so-called Abyss Devil race was not the same as Su Zimo's ancient demon race, another tale for another time. Oh! At that moment, Su Zimo looked toward the crowd gathered at the center. He and Zhou Ming sat off to the side, with Zhou Ming introducing people one by one. Most present were wanderer cultivators, rogue cultivators who resided in North River City. The great powers were not allowed to rule here, nor could they. This place was like ownerless land, yet everyone lived in harmony. Island Master Zhou. Someone came over to greet Zhou Ming. Sage of Fortune. Zhou Ming rose with a smile. It's been a long time. Your calamity-avoiding fortune technique seems to have improved. I hear Imperial Crown Island has been making moves toward Tranquil. Don't forget me when the time comes. The Sage of Fortune laughed. Zhou Ming nodded slightly, then gestured to Su Zimo with a smile. Allow me to introduce. This is Brother Su Zimo. He's here in search of a jar of immortal brew. Sage of Fortune. Would you happen to know where one might be found? Read complete version only at novelfire.net. If I hear anything, I'll be sure to tell you, the Sage of Fortune said with polite courtesy, though his interest in Su Zimo was clearly minimal. Still, he offered a smile out of respect. After the Taoist left, Su Zimo looked at Zhou Ming and asked, "Why are you helping me?" "I want to make you my friend," Zhou Ming said with a smile. "I've wandered far and wide for many years. I can read most people at a glance. To be frank, I believe befriending you is no loss. Gentlemen, apologies for being late." Just then, someone strode up from the stairway. A young man in white robes, his voice carrying loudly enough to overshadow the chatter in the hall. "Brother Goldenwheel, this Tao gathering was your idea. Coming last is hardly proper." "That's right. You owe us a few cups as punishment. I've heard Brother Goldenwheel has been busy with official matters lately. I wanted to pester you but didn't dare disturb." The crowd greeted the newcomer with smiles and laughter. It was obvious this young man held high status. Everyone was eager to show goodwill. "Who is that?" Su Zimo asked curiously. "Prince Goldenwheel," Zhou Ming said with little enthusiasm. "Just a street commoner." "A street commoner can enter a place like this?" Su Zimo chuckled. He was a street commoner in Tranquil, mingling with the lowest rungs of society. Later, he turned out to be the illegitimate son of an almighty being. Naturally, his status rose. Zhou Ming explained with a smile. He didn't spell it out, but the meaning was clear. Ultimately, he was still not a figure of true substance. Some attached themselves to him, hoping to curry favor with the great man behind him. Others, like Zhou Ming, looked down on him. Then that so-called great figure must be extraordinary, Su Zimo said with a smile. He carries an imperial title. What do you think? Zhou Ming replied. An imperial title. That meant a grand emperor. Oh, does anyone know where Senior Mist Prime is now? Someone asked. My father is at Grand Mist Mountain. He asked me to tell you all. 1 month from now, he will preach the Tao there, Prince Goldenwheel announced with a smile. Though his tone was not overtly arrogant, the sense of superiority was unmistakable. Having a grand emperor for a father was something others could envy, but never match. Please thank Senior Mist Prime for us. We'll certainly attend, someone replied with a smile. A grand emperor's sermon might not rival that of a saint sovereign, but it was still a rare and precious opportunity. Even for them, it would bring great benefit. Does anyone know where Fairy Moonpluck is now? Prince Goldenwheel asked as he scanned the room. Fairy Moonpluck isn't here. We don't know either, someone nearby replied with an awkward smile. No one informed her about this Tao gathering? Prince Goldenwheel asked with a frown. She was informed, but whether she comes or not is out of our hands, someone replied awkwardly. When Prince Goldenwheel heard that Fairy Moonpluck would not be attending, his enthusiasm visibly cooled. You might want to pay attention to Fairy Moonpluck, Zhou Ming whispered to Su Zimo. Why? Su Zimo asked. Because she's the master of Immortal Brew Chamber. If you want immortal brew, she should have some, Zhou Ming explained. Su Zimo gave him a curious glance. Just then, an exclamation rose from the crowd. Fairy Moonpluck seems to be here. Someone pointed outside the window of the primeval tower. A woman was seen stepping lightly across the void. She wore a long blue robe, as deep and vivid as the sea, moving with the grace of a water spirit. Rainbow ribbons swirled around her body. The blue robe seemed to shimmer like a sky full of falling stars, scattering radiant starlight. Her eyes were bright and captivating, full of charm, as if holding the reflection of a starry night. Graceful and ethereal, her celestial beauty shone like falling starlight. Among the ages no beauty compares. One glance is enough to enchant the world. A face that could topple kingdoms, astonishing all under heaven. Such words were a perfect description of her. Seeing her descend gracefully from the void, Prince Goldenwheel was left momentarily dazed. Fairy Moonpluck landed lightly, greeting everyone with a gentle voice. 1 Yuan greets you all. 1 Yuan was her true name, though the world preferred to call her Fairy Moonpluck. It was said that at her birth, a mighty being plucked the moon of a particle world and gifted it to her. But that was just legend. Few truly believed it. If such a mighty being existed, Immortal Brew Chamber would never have fallen so far. Miss Moonpluck, you've come. Prince Goldenwheel stepped forward with a smile. Fairy Moonpluck nodded faintly. I wonder if you have time. My father intends to preach the Tao on Grand Mist Mountain. Would you be able to attend? Prince Goldenwheel asked. 1 Yuan has many matters to handle lately. If I have the time, I'll certainly go, Fairy Moonpluck replied. Tell me what troubles you. I'll solve it for you. Everyone in North River City has to give me some respect, Prince Goldenwheel said with a grin. Your problem is my problem. I have an enemy, the Elder Fiend. I once swore that whoever helps me kill him, I would agree to any condition, Fairy Moonpluck replied. What Elder Fiend? Let him crawl over here to meet me. Prince Goldenwheel boasted loudly, looking around. Brother Goldenwheel, mind your words. Someone nearby shivered and quickly warned. Yes, let's not meddle in that matter. Better we discuss Senior Mist Prime's upcoming sermon. The crowd shifted the topic, all making excuses. Their evasive attitudes finally made Prince Goldenwheel realize something was off. What is this Elder Fiend so strong? Stronger than my father. Senior Mist Prime is naturally stronger. There's no comparison. Someone laughed. Yes, Brother Goldenwheel, why not ask Senior Mist Prime yourself? We dare not speak of it, another added. Seeing everyone so reluctant, Fairy Moonpluck's face dimmed. She had seen this many times before. Long ago, Immortal Brew Chamber had been a notable power. With their immortal brew, they had connections with many factions and figures. But ever since that incident, former allies avoided them. Whenever the name of the Elder Fiend was mentioned, people turned pale and dared not continue. Oh? Su Zimo grew curious and asked Zhou Ming, "What's the story of this Elder Fiend?" To the north and west of North River City are two renowned powers. One is Immortal Brew Chamber, famous for its immortal brew, and because the island is filled with beautiful women, it's a place many long for. The other lies to the west, Fiend Mountain. This faction inspires fear. The people of Fiend Mountain are lawless, indulging in killing, looting, and burning, skilled at every wicked deed. But with the Elder Fiend present, no one dares provoke them, Zhou Ming explained. The Elder Fiend is a senior figure. Back in the Middle Ages, he had already attained the title of Grand Emperor. Even now, he is a true ancient Grand Emperor. Su Zimo nodded slightly. A Grand Emperor might not be extraordinary in other heavens. But here in the Mortal Ascension heaven, without Saint Sovereign Brahma emerging, such a figure was already enough to terrify countless people. Zhou Ming continued, "From what I know, one of the Elder Fiend's disciples tried to violate a woman from Immortal Brew Chamber. During the confrontation, he was accidentally killed. You can guess the rest. The Elder Fiend, known for being fiercely protective, slaughtered the entire Immortal Brew Chamber in retaliation." "Then how is Fairy Moonpluck still alive?" Su Zimo asked. "At the time of the massacre, a few people weren't on the island. They survived, including her," Zhou Ming replied. "After that, the Elder Fiend never struck again, but Fairy Moonpluck has been bent on revenge. Yet it's nearly impossible. No one is willing to oppose a Grand Emperor on her behalf." Hearing this, Su Zimo had the gist of the story. "You brought me here because you want me to help her," Su Zimo said. "You want Immortal Brew, she needs help. Isn't that just right?" Zhou Ming smiled. "You think one jar of Immortal Brew is worth making an enemy of a Grand Emperor?" Su Zimo countered. "Worth or not depends on the person, not just the matter," Zhou Ming smiled. "That's for you to decide." Su Zimo didn't answer. A jar of Immortal Brew alone certainly wasn't worth such a price. But he needed Gongyang Su to help him find the Shenyuan clan. Without that, his next step would stall with little progress possible. With the Infernal Heart, he could comprehend what the previous Infernal Lord had left within it, perhaps even gain new insights into his path toward Grand Emperor. And his hell-suppressing demon physique also required the Infernal Heart. Oh! The Dao gathering continued. Prince Goldenwheel no longer spoke of revenge, but he still hovered around Fairy Moonpluck, trying to impress her. SS novel white concave-sided diamondfire.net. Meanwhile, others exchanged Taoist insights, hoping to gain inspiration. Niece greets Uncle Zhou. Fairy Moonpluck approached Zhou Ming and offered her respects. Su Zimo glanced at Zhou Ming. No wonder he had brought him upstairs. So there was some family connection. "Wan Yuan, let me introduce someone," Zhou Ming said with a smile. "This is Su Zimo. He seeks a jar of Immortal Brew. Do you have any left?" Fairy Moonpluck looked at Su Zimo, her gaze flickering slightly, then nodded. With a wave of her hand, a sealed wine jar appeared from her storage ring. "Since he's a friend of Uncle Zhou, this wine will be given to you freely. But after this, I won't be brewing it anymore. I hope you understand, young master." Su Zimo accepted the Immortal Brew and said calmly, "Consider this a favor owed. If you ever need something, you may come find me." After speaking, he smiled at Zhou Ming. "Then I won't linger. We'll meet again." Zhou Ming chuckled and nodded. Su Zimo was about to leave when Prince Goldenwheel, still hovering nearby and trying to impress Fairy Moonpluck, stepped up. "This Dao brother, I too am fond of Immortal Brew. Could you perhaps bear to part with it? Are we close?" Su Zimo glanced at him and replied flatly, "My father will soon be preaching at Grand Mist Mountain. You won't even give me this bit of respect." Prince Goldenwheel saw Suzimo looked unfamiliar and assumed he didn't know his identity, so he emphasized it again. Your father's preaching is his matter, Suzimo answered indifferently. I'm not your father. Don't come tell me about it. Insolent. How dare you speak to me like that? Prince Goldenwheel's face flushed in anger, and he barked loudly. Boy, what faction are you from? State your name. Just a wandering cultivator, Suzimo replied. Apologize to me now, immediately. I might consider sparing your life. Prince Goldenwheel snorted coldly. ssnoelfire.net. Looking down on Suzimo with arrogance, he added, Otherwise, I'll make sure you can't even walk out of this primeval tower. Boom! The moment Prince Goldenwheel finished speaking, his body flew backward violently. He crashed hard into a nearby pillar. The pillar, along with several tables and chairs beside it, shattered into pieces. The discussions in the hall abruptly stopped, and everyone turned to look. What happened? Brother Goldenwheel, are you all right? Who dares to be so bold? Though Suzimo had used less than 1/10 of his strength, Prince Goldenwheel's chest still burst open, blood gushing. Writhing on the ground, his chest was mangled and bloody, his body twitching on the verge of death. Who are you? Someone shouted at Suzimo. It was just a verbal dispute. Why strike with such severity? You want the same end as him? Suzimo turned his gaze on the man and asked. You? The man was instantly struck dumb. What's going on? At that moment, people from the primeval tower rushed up from below. Elder Withered Bones, someone's making trouble here, one of them quickly reported. Fellow Taoist, will give you a chance to explain. The old man of the primeval tower turned to Suzimo, his tone harsh. There's nothing to explain. The fact I didn't turn him to ash with one punch was already merciful, Suzimo said. Then you'll have to come with us, the elder said coldly. Is that so? Suzimo asked in return. Before the elder could reply, an overwhelming aura burst forth from Suzimo, locking solely onto him. In that instant, he felt as though a peerless demon king had descended. Mountains of corpses filled his vision, rivers of blood flowing endlessly. His very soul seemed frozen, his body stiff as his forehead dripped with cold sweat. Do you still want me to come with you? Suzimo asked. Snapping back to his senses, the elder felt like he had just walked to the edge of hell. The back of his robes was completely soaked with sweat. He swallowed hard. My lord, this fool was blind. The elder quickly bowed. Please do as you wish. Remember my name, Suzimo. He turned his gaze across the crowd, then glanced at the unconscious Prince Goldenwheel lying on the floor. He said faintly, If his father wants revenge, he can come find me. I'll be in tranquil these days. With that, he stepped right over Prince Goldenwheel's body and walked downstairs. The whole room was deathly silent, so quiet one could hear a pin drop. Elder Withered Bones was the first to recover. Take Prince Goldenwheel down for treatment. Report this matter truthfully to Mist Prime Emperor. Everyone nodded quickly. Some thought Suzimo had just stirred up a catastrophe, sighing or gloating at his doom. Others suspected Suzimo must have a powerful background, which was why he acted so fearlessly. Among the few present, Elder Withered Bones understood best. The Suzimo was no ordinary man. Either way, the primeval tower couldn't afford to offend him. Oh, Uncle, Fairy Moonpluck turned to Zhou Ming. Get close to him. He's not simple, Zhou Ming said with a smile. Perhaps your luck isn't as bad as you think. Fairy Moonpluck gazed in the direction Suzimo had left, her eyes thoughtful. When Suzimo stepped out of the primeval tower, Miss Jing was waiting at the door. You got the immortal brew? So you knew all along, Suzimo replied. Come on, I'll take you to meet my master, Miss Jing said with a smile. Suzimo followed her silently. He felt she seemed to know everything. From the day they met, he had had this intuition. But such a thing was impossible. Not even those with unrivaled power and flawless schemes could truly know everything. Still, since she didn't wish to explain, Suzimo had no way to press further. They wound their way through the bustling streets and eventually entered a quiet alley. Though only a dozen meters from the main road, it was utterly silent. "This is the place." Miss Jing stopped before a secluded courtyard. Smiling at Su Zimo, she said, "Open the immortal brew. My master will come to receive you himself." Su Zimo slowly took out the jar and pulled the stopper. A rich fragrance of wine immediately drifted out. The aroma was unparalleled, so potent that even Su Zimo, who wasn't particularly fond of alcohol, felt his mouth water. He was about to take a sip when suddenly a figure leapt over the wall. Disheveled, the man snatched the jar from Su Zimo's hand. "Immortal brew, immortal brew, paradise in wine, the wine of immortals," the man muttered excitedly, clutching the jar, intoxicated just by its scent. "Master," Miss Jing greeted with a laugh. "Ah, Jing, it's you." The man turned around. He looked refined, like an old-time scholar, but his hair was messy, his clothes unkempt, his manner wild and eccentric with a hint of madness. "And this is?" The man glanced at Su Zimo, pinching his fingers to divine. His expression suddenly darkened. "Didn't I say I wouldn't see him?" "But master, that immortal brew in your hand belongs to him," Miss Jing replied with a smile. "Then I'll give it to him," the man snorted. He hugged the jar and held it out in front of Su Zimo. Su Zimo reached out, but just as he did, the man quickly pulled it back. Forget it. Forget it. Since you're here, come inside and have some water." Clutching the wine, the man turned and walked into the courtyard. Miss Jing smiled and explained, "Don't mind him. That's just how he is. Somewhat like an old mischievous child." "No worries. I've seen all kinds of people," Su Zimo said with a slight shake of his head. Following Miss Jing into the courtyard, Su Zimo glanced around. The place wasn't particularly large. 2 quiet little houses stood to the side, with a yin-yang disc set in the center of the courtyard. Around the yard, 5 trees had been planted, each positioned according to the 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. These trees seemed specially cultivated. Su Zimo had never seen their like before. The moment he stepped into the courtyard, he frowned slightly. It felt as though a few invisible threads reached out toward him, wrapping faintly around his limbs. If he hadn't been carefully attuned, he might not have noticed them at all. They had no real effect on him, but the sensation still made him vaguely uncomfortable. "Don't mind it," Miss Jing said with a smile. "This whole courtyard is covered by my master's celestial mechanism formation. Everyone who steps inside is linked by the threads of fate. It won't harm you, and it's not aimed specifically at you." Su Zimo nodded and walked deeper into the yard. At the far end stood a small pavilion. Gong Yang Su sat on a stone stool, placing the jar of immortal brew at his side. He then patted the stone table before him and said, "Jing, come here." Miss Jing smiled at Su Zimo and moved to stand behind her master. "I already know your origins," Gong Yang Su said slowly, fixing Su Zimo with his gaze. "I cannot help you, but for the sake of the immortal brew, I'll let you make another request, and I'll do my best to assist." "I only want news of the Shenyuan clan," Su Zimo replied, shaking his head. "You have old ties to the Shenyuan clan?" Gong Yang Su shook his head lightly. "It's not that I don't want to help you. It's that my ability is insufficient. Even I cannot divine their whereabouts." Su Zimo's brows furrowed tightly. He turned slightly, looking toward Miss Jing. "Master, isn't your celestial mechanism art supposed to foretell everything under heaven?" she asked. Before leaving, the Grand Pivot Emperor disrupted the clan's fate lines. Now the threads of destiny are in chaos. I cannot trace their position. Gong Yang Su explained with a shake of his head. Without the Grand Pivot Emperor, the clan was no longer as powerful. But they still held the Grand Pivot Godsword, ranked 3rd among the Grand Thousand Treasures of the world. Everyone understood the principle of a man's wealth being his downfall. Naturally, the Shenyuan clan would not be easy to find. "You must have a way, don't you?" Su Zimo pressed. "I do. But why should I help you? Gong Yang-su countered. You should know my price is very high. A single jar of immortal brew is hardly enough. In the end, it's just about interest and profit. What's your condition? Su Zimo said evenly. The bustle of the world was nothing more than the exchange of benefits. Everyone knew that truth. You couldn't accomplish it even if I told you, Gong Yang-su said. Don't bother trying to provoke me. Whether I can or not is for me to decide, Su Zimo replied. This text is hosted at novifire.net. The celestial mechanism art I cultivate is incomplete, Gong Yang-su said after a pause. It lacks the final chapter. If you can obtain it for me, I will make an exception and help you once. Consider it returning a favor. The celestial mechanism art? Su Zimo murmured, then asked, Do you know where the final chapter is? Right here in North River City, Gong Yang-su said with a faint smile. Otherwise, why do you think I've stayed here so long? When you acquire the final chapter, come find me again. With that, Gong Yang-su rose and returned to his room, deliberately leaving the details unsaid. My master just doesn't want to say it outright. He clearly means for me to tell you, Miss Jing said with a smile. The one who holds the final chapter is an old man named Zhuqiu. He and my master have long been rivals. Both are famed for their calculations of fate, and throughout the Azure Frontier they're known as the Twin Sages. Elder Zhuqiu, Su Zimo nodded. Where is he in North River City? Miss Jing pointed to the courtyard directly opposite theirs and whispered. That old man has a strange temper. Don't try to force anything. It won't work. Same as with my master. Su Zimo nodded, took his leave of her, and crossed the way. He knocked gently on the gate. Footsteps sounded within. The door opened to reveal an old man. He wore a purple robe, short and frail-looking, thin as if the wind might blow him away. The robe wrapped almost his entire body. Come in, the old man said after glancing at Su Zimo, stepping aside to let him enter. In the yard, an iron stove made of bricks boiled a kettle of tea. The lid rattled noisily as steam surged out. The old man poured a cup of tea and handed it to Su Zimo, then stared at him intently. What is it? Su Zimo asked. Alike, far too alike, the old man muttered, stepping closer, scrutinizing him. Practically identical. Have we met before? Su Zimo asked. We have. More accurately, I've met the you from before, the old man said with a smile. The me from before? I don't understand. Su Zimo shook his head. You will in time, the old man chuckled. You must be Elder Zhuqiu? Su Zimo asked. Just call me Elder Zhua, he nodded. That old goat Gong Yang must have sent you, right? As he spoke, he waved his hand. A book appeared in his palm. That old fellow has coveted this for a long time. What conditions do you have, Elder Zhua? Su Zimo asked. No conditions. The celestial mechanism art is yours, Elder Zhua said, placing the book before Su Zimo. Though it was handed over freely, Su Zimo's doubts only deepened. He felt strongly that this old man knew something, but was withholding it. Why help me? Su Zimo asked instead of taking the book immediately. Because you once helped me too, Elder Zhua replied with a smile. Don't question too much. Just take it, I won't harm you. Some things will be clear to you when the time comes. Su Zimo finally accepted the book and said, Miss Jing told me you two are one of the twin sages. Could you help me locate the Shenyuan clan? I could find them, but I cannot help you, Elder Zhua said mysteriously. Go to Gong Yang-su. He's the only one who can aid you. Su Zimo fell silent for a moment, then prepared to leave. But Elder Zhua suddenly called after him. Be wary of Gong Yang-su. And that girl. Su Zimo knew he meant Miss Jing. His mind was in chaos. He had no clear grasp of these people or their true intentions. Since entering the 9 heavens, he had realized the complexity of things far exceeded his imagination. One day, I'll find the answers, Su Zimo said to Elder Zhua before departing. Hopefully. Elder Zhuqiu sighed deeply as he watched Su Zimo's departing figure. Then he muttered to himself, The ancient times have long since ended, long, long ago. After leaving the courtyard, Su Zimo's brows remained furrowed. You got it that quickly? Miss Jing was waiting inside the yard, looking at him in surprise. He gave it to me freely, Su Zimo nodded. You two know each other? Miss Jing asked, astonished. Su Zimo didn't answer. Instead, he stared at her intently. Who exactly are you? What's the matter with you? Miss Jing laughed. Am I not standing right in front of you? Why suddenly ask that? Link to the origin of this information RSTS in novel white concave-sided diamondfire.net. Nothing, just that my acquaintance with you feels somewhat unreal, Su Zimo said with a faint smile. Don't let your thoughts run wild, Miss Jing replied. Now that you've got the celestial mechanism art, let's hurry and find my master. Even as the two spoke, Gong Yang Su walked out from his room, holding a half-empty jar of immortal brew. He hiccuped from the drink, then smiled. So quick? Seems you do have some ability. How long to locate the Shenyuan clan? Su Zimo asked directly. If all goes smoothly, half a day is enough, Gong Yang Su said. But there's something I'll need from you. My celestial mechanism formation is set up here in this courtyard. Once it's activated, it cannot be disturbed. If it's disrupted, at best I'll suffer fatal backlash. At worst, it could draw down heavenly tribulation and destroy all of Tranquil. I'll need you to guard me. From this moment on, even if a saint sovereign comes, they will not set one foot past this courtyard, Su Zimo said coldly, drawing out Shadow Tyrant. But by tomorrow's sunrise, if you can't give me a satisfactory answer, then you will perish with the night. Don't worry. Gong Yang Su has never made a miscalculation, Gong Yang Su said, his eyes flickering, then smiling. Jing, go assist him, but don't meddle with this celestial mechanism formation. Understood. Miss Jing nodded slightly. The two stood outside the courtyard, watching. Gong Yang Su drained the last of the immortal brew, then raised both hands. Immediately, a yin-yang fish diagram appeared across the ground. The black and white fishes began to rotate endlessly. This is the Twin Rights yin-yang God diagram, Miss Jing explained softly. It can evolve the heavenly mechanisms and calculate all things. Coupled with my master's divination, it's unique in the world, rest assured. But he rarely uses it because once the heavenly evolution begins, he is utterly vulnerable. It's the same as handing his life into another's hands. Su Zimo nodded, watching the changes of the yin-yang on the ground. The yin-yang fishes slowly vanished. The earth turned gray and hazy, as though reverting to the chaos of creation itself. The Twin Rights yin-yang God diagram was ranked 31st among the Grand Thousand Treasures. And in the field of divining fate it was unmatched. From the gray mist, a blazing sun appeared, followed by a vast stretch of sky. It was as if the heavens above were mirrored within the yin-yang diagram. Gong Yang Su waved his hand, his robe snapping loudly in the wind, and the ground began to transform. The azure frontier, the four regions, the entire mortal ascension heaven shrank countless times over, appearing within the diagram. His gaze blazed as he stared at it. The Shenyuan clan, he shouted. His aura erupted, surging mightily, twisting even the surrounding void. Black and white energies gushed from the diagram. Celestial mechanism converges. Celestial image arises. The energies swirled in the air, evolving with his incantation. Senior Mist Prime, I saw it with my own eyes. He went into this alley, no mistake. It was he who injured the Prince Goldenwheel. Over just a few words, he nearly killed him. That man is ruthless. At that very moment, a clamor of voices rang out from the far end of the alley. Trouble you caused, Miss Jing said, glancing at Su Zimo. I'll resolve it, Su Zimo said calmly. Shadow Tyrant quivered faintly in his grip, as though hungering for blood. Su, come out. Senior Mist Prime is here. Accept your death. A thunderous voice roared from nearby. The sound cracked like lightning through the void. Many across Tranquil and even North River City heard it. In this city, no one had dared stir up open battle in a long time. Most who came here were hidden powerhouses. To disturb their peace was courting death. But clearly, someone wasn't afraid. "What's happening?" someone asked in confusion. "You don't know?" The Prince Golden Wheel was beaten half to death at Primeval Tower. The Grand Mist Mountain issued a pursuit order, another explained. "Then let's go watch. Doesn't this mean the Mist Prime Emperor himself will appear?" A group approached from one end of the alley, stepping through the air. Each carried a terrifying aura, wind roaring violently around them. Most wore deep blue robes, clearly from the same faction. Among them were a few familiar faces, scattered cultivators who had seen Su Zimo at Primeval Tower. At that moment, in Primeval Tower, Zhou Ming poured himself a cup of tea, standing by the window to watch. Fairy Moonpluck stood beside him. "Uncle, Wan Yuan, watch closely. This man may become your chance for revenge. He can only be a friend, never an enemy." Wan Yuan understands. Fairy Moonpluck nodded slightly, looking toward the alley. "It's him!" someone cried, pointing at Su Zimo. At once, the blue-robed men sealed off the surroundings. Among them stood a middle-aged man. His eyes were clear, his green robe flowing. He stood 8 feet tall with a 2-foot-long beard, bearing a striking resemblance to Guan Yu, a true bearded lord. His hair was gray, his robe broad, sleeves draping past his arms. The green-robed man frowned faintly, looking toward the courtyard. After a pause, he chuckled. "So, Gongyang Su has actually activated the Twin Rights Yin-Yang God diagram. Seems he's seeking something extraordinary." He turned to the men around him. "Encircle the courtyard. Without my order, no one is to step inside." "Yes," the blue-robed men replied coldly in unison. The green-robed man's gaze fell upon Su Zimo. Su Zimo said nothing. With a wave of his hand, he opened the passage to the god world. From it burst countless beasts, including the 10 great ancient god beasts and hundreds of dragon gods, soaring into the air. A flood of beastly might descended, vast and overwhelming. "Guard this place. Anyone who dares intrude, kill." Killing intent surged forth like an erupting torrent, spreading sternly in all directions. All the celestial beasts roared, encircling the courtyard completely. Dragon gods cried and phoenixes sang. Gales of demonic wind swept through the narrow alley, burying everything around in a storm of yellow sand. Su Zimo looked at the Mist Prime Emperor and smiled faintly. "Do not think that just because you are a Grand Emperor, you are invincible." Shadow Tyrant was drawn, landing softly into his hand. The will of the blade kept rising higher and higher. "You are?" Feeling the oppressive aura of a Grand Emperor rolling off Su Zimo, the Mist Prime Emperor finally regarded him with full seriousness. "Names do not matter. You wouldn't recognize mine even if I told you." Su Zimo shook his head. "You came here because of your son? Then leave now. Otherwise, you will end the same way he did." "You seem very confident," the Mist Prime Emperor replied. From his body, a dense imperial might surged to the heavens. Thick, gray fog spread out to blanket the surroundings. With a wave of his hand, a massive war hammer descended from the void. It smashed down right where Su Zimo was standing. Shadow Tyrant rose to meet it, a burst of blade light exploding forth, instantly cleaving the hammer aside. The war hammer spun back into the Mist Prime Emperor's hand. Meanwhile, the fog grew ever denser, enveloping everything as the Grand Emperor raised his hammer again. His wide green robe sleeves fluttering in the wind. He wore no shoes, barefoot he charged straight at Su Zimo. One hammer strike fell, shaking heaven and earth as though reaching into the depths of the 9 hells. "Child's play," Su Zimo laughed lightly. Shadow Tyrant swept upward. Thunder crackled across the sky. Silver and violet lightning wrapped around the blade, tearing the heavens. Boom! A heaven-shaking explosion resounded. The entire void collapsed. The fog turned violent, churning up the very winds and clouds. From afar, it looked as though a mass of black fog had swallowed all of North River City. Elsewhere the sun still shone, but here the sky was blotted out. Both figures staggered back several steps. The Mist Prime Emperor gave a low shout, hammer falling once more with shocking force. Fast! With his cry, his figure blurred almost beyond recognition. In the void, countless afterimages shimmered into existence. They were not mere afterimages, it was speed pushed to the extreme. Slow! He cried again. Su Zimo, who had been raising his blade, suddenly felt endless power pressing down upon him. His entire body seemed suppressed. Every step, every motion of drawing his blade became unbearably slow. So, what you've comprehended is the nomological truth of speed and slowness. Su Zimo chuckled. Holding Shadow Tyrant in one hand, he snapped the fingers of his other. And he too uttered a single word. Slow! The Mist Prime Emperor, darting through the void so fast as to be nearly invisible, suddenly slowed to a crawl. Shocked, he stared at Su Zimo. You too? Then open your eyes and see clearly, Su Zimo replied. He invoked the nomological truth of speed upon himself, forcibly canceling out the suppression of slowness. Upon Shadow Tyrant's edge, the nomological truth of thunder roared to life. With one strike, Su Zimo cleaved down, thunder booming, the firmament shattering. Boom! 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 As all things were torn asunder, the blade light slashed toward the Mist Prime Emperor. He raised his hammer once more to block, but thunder exploded at point-blank range, hurling his body violently backward. The lightning seemed to pierce through the heavens themselves. Amid the rolling clouds, a circular black hole formed high above. From it poured a torrent of thunder, cascading down to fuse with Shadow Tyrant's blade. Slash! Su Zimo roared. Dragging his blade, he strode step by step across the void, lightning entwining his body. Another deafening boom rang out. The Mist Prime Emperor was blasted into the earth, smashing open a bottomless crater. This? People around exchanged bewildered glances. How could this be? The Mist Prime Emperor cannot be defeated. Is he also a Grand Emperor? On the primeval tower, Fairy Jiayua's eyes shone with brilliance. Miscalculated, Zhou-Ming muttered with a frown. He had always assumed Su Zimo's background to be unfathomable, perhaps the heir of some mighty Dao court. Never had he imagined that Su Zimo himself was truly a Grand Emperor. The battle of two Grand Emperors drew the gaze of the entire North River City. Lightning blazed across the world. Su Zimo stood like a thunder war god, overlooking all beings. Come out and fight me again, he said coldly toward the abyssal pit. Since accepting heaven's will, you will be the first Grand Emperor I slay. Your blood is worthy of my blade. As his words fell, the atmosphere shifted. The gray fog gathered around the pit's edge, spreading thicker and thicker. Some who touched it turned instantly to ash, not even bones remaining. Within the mist, a monstrous growl began to echo. Imperial might surged without limit. The ground split apart, and within the churning fog, a pair of eyes appeared. No words could capture their look. Death, decay, pain, evil, all negative emotions condensed into one gaze. It materialized from nothingness, staring straight at Su Zimo. The turbulent fog suddenly stilled. From afar, the dense mist coalesced into the shape of a monstrous being. Its lower half remained buried in the pit, with only its head rising into the world. Then came a roar so earth-shaking, so ghost-crying, it rattled the heavens. Many instinctively clutched their heads. With that single roar, every building, every alley, even the neighboring street was destroyed in an instant. The bustling marketplace had become a wasteland of rubble. Fortunately, several god beasts shielded Gongyang's courtyard, leaving it intact. Before him, the Twin Rites Yin-Yang god diagram was nearly complete, the rivers and mountains within solidifying, but still not yet fully formed. Ears bled across the city. One roar, such was its terror. As rumbling shook the land, a colossal black arm burst from the abyss. The monster had revealed its two arms and head, continued to howl. Placing its hands upon the earth, it hauled itself fully from the pit. Legend spoke that, in the Middle Ages, a certain creature once appeared in the world. It was called the Mist Prime Beast, said to be the source of all evil, the culmination of every negative emotion. Official source is novelfire.net. It survived by feeding on human greed, sloth, rage, parasite upon all base desires. The Mist Prime Beast was a monster of the Middle Ages, incomparably powerful. It had thrown the world into chaos for many years, but was eventually slain and vanished without a trace. Now, seeing it appear in North River City, the townsfolk's eyes filled with horror. Is that the Mist Prime Beast? They say when it was slain back then, the ancestor of Grand Mist Mountain took part in the battle. He even received a fragment of the Mist Prime Beast's god soul. Later, when the Mist Prime Emperor forged his Tao source, he fused that very soul into himself. Some informed onlookers explained. The colossal Mist Prime Beast rose, towering over 1,000,000 miles in every direction. The gray fog around it turned pitch black. His body was wreathed in black mist. Only 2 eyes could be seen, no other facial features at all. Its form was utterly black, as though condensed from smoke. Su Zimo looked up. The fiend roared furiously, throwing a fist at him. The friction between its punch and space itself sparked into flames, like a giant fireball falling from the heavens. Su Zimo sheathed Shadow Tyrant, then raised a single finger to meet the strike. This was one of the 10 primordial God Scriptures, creation-devouring God Scripture. Though only one finger, the might it unleashed was enough to shake the world. The power of creation swirled at his fingertip, bearing the force to devour the heavens. The finger seemed to turn into a black hole. When it fell, irresistible force burst forth, shattering the void, 2 extremes of power colliding. "You're still not enough," Su Zimo snorted coldly. This Mist Prime Emperor's cultivation realm was close to his own, at the first stage of the 5 stages of the Grand Emperor realm, the Yinyang stage. Still a long way from Void Turbulent stage. Boom! Boom! The heavens thundered with rage, explosions bursting overhead. Billions of fiery meteors rained down from the darkness of the void. All of Azure Frontier descended into chaos. The spectators who had gathered to watch fled for their lives in terror. Even Gongyang-su's courtyard could not escape the shockwave. The sheer force collapsed the surrounding millions of miles of land into the earth, as though a great earthquake had struck, leaving nothing but ruin. Chaos roared and his wings spread wide, lifting the entire courtyard into the sky to keep it safe. Carrying the courtyard in midair, Chaos averted disaster. The towering Mist Prime Beast suddenly spoke human words. "Kill Gongyang-su." At once, the blue-robed men around rushed to attack Chaos's direction. Su Zimo's god beasts rioted, clashing with the blue-robed men. All of Tranquil fell into turmoil. This was perhaps the greatest calamity the Azure Frontier had faced in countless years. "Now you've made me really angry," Su Zimo said faintly. Within him surged the power of heaven-shattering God Scripture. Behind him, the heaven-shattering giant rose from the ground, confronting the Mist Prime Beast. He unleashed both Heaven-Earth Dharma Codex and the God-Demon Creation Atlas. One made his body as towering as heaven and earth. The other made his soul as mighty as gods and demons. His size now exceeded the Mist Prime Beast's. He charged forward to kill. In his left hand, the nomological truth of speed and slowness. In his right, the nomological truth of time and space. One palm struck, and the fiend screamed, smashed back into the earth. Su Zimo did not relent. Slowness bound its movements, while time and space sealed it further. No matter how it struggled, it could not move. Su Zimo raised his fist, hammering its head again and again, simple, brutal. Each blow boomed like thunder, shaking the world, shattering the lands around him from the resulting shockwaves. The Mist Prime Beast's shrieks of pain rang without end. After more than 10 strikes, it could no longer endure. Its head exploded apart. From the wreckage, the Mist Prime Emperor's figure was thrown out. Now he looked as small as an ordinary man. Google see novelfire.net. Su Zimo clenched both hands, seizing him like an ant. Fellow Taoist, Spare me, and Grand Mist Mountain will reward you richly, the Mist Prime Emperor pleaded. With a single move I could scatter your soul, Suzimo said coldly. Cultivation is hard. Give me a chance. I'll agree to any condition, the Grand Emperor begged. I don't need that, but I've thought of something else that might be fun, Suzimo said. What are you going to do? Seeing Suzimo's expression, the Grand Emperor grew frantic. With a flick of Suzimo's finger, he was locked in place. A scream tore the air as Suzimo ripped the Grand Emperor's soul out of his body, not gently separating, but violently tearing it free. Save the ancestor! The blue-robed men nearby cried in horror. Instead of fleeing, they charged at Suzimo. Suzimo stretched out his right hand. The void itself solidified. All the blue-robed men froze in midair. Then he clenched his fist, shattering the void like glass. Their bodies shattered with it. By the time the broken void restored itself, their flesh had already been swept away into the void storm. Suzimo flicked his finger again, splitting the Mist Prime Emperor's body into 4 parts. He turned to the god beasts from the god world and commanded, "Hang these 4 pieces at the 4 gates of Tranquil. Let everyone know, until this formation ends. Anyone who intrudes will find even a Grand Emperor fares no better." Then he turned back to the Grand Emperor's soul. He bound it in the void, chains of life and death from the Codex of Life and Death wrapping tightly around it. Suzimo raised his hand. From the void, lightning poured down, striking the Emperor's soul without end. The screams echoed endlessly. "Today, a Grand Emperor shall be struck down by lightning here," Suzimo declared. He looked around at the ruined land. Chaos descended from the void, lowering the courtyard safely back to the ground. The god beasts and dragon gods returned to the god world. Above, thunder still roared as lightning fell. The Mist Prime Emperor's voice cried out, "Release me! You'll regret this. Grand Mist Mountain will never spare you. Aya!" But souls feared lightning most, and though he was a Grand Emperor's soul, Suzimo's thunder was no ordinary lightning. "Grand Mist Mountain, I'll be waiting," Suzimo said flatly. He stood calmly before the courtyard. Miss Jing approached and spoke. "Elder Zhuqiu has left. He asked me to bring you a message." "What is it?" Suzimo asked. He said, "Everything in this world has its destined place. The higher we climb, the more we realize our own ignorance." She smiled. Those were his exact words. "I do not care about riddles," Suzimo replied. "If you meet him again, tell him this: consider the celestial mechanism art as a favor that I owe him. I don't like taking favors without paying them back." "I understand," Miss Jing nodded lightly. "Also, you should be careful of Grand Mist Mountain." "How so?" Suzimo asked. "Grand Mist Mountain is not that simple. Their forefather has ties with many Dao courts. On top of that, their own foundation is strong. The Mist Prime Emperor was raised under their wing," Miss Jing explained. "You should act cautiously. Let them come." Suzimo waved his hand. He knew. Some Dao courts only rose because a Grand Emperor appeared among them. But some great powers were already enormous even before. They were so strong that even Grand Emperors were nurtured under their shelter. Follow current novels on ovalfire.net. "You?" Miss Jing shook her head gently. Suzimo turned to look into the courtyard. The image above the Twin Rites Yin-Yang God diagram was becoming clearer and clearer. The black and white vapors also gradually slowed. Inside, Gongyang Su sat cross-legged, eyes tightly shut, like a slumbering deity. The intent of the yin-yangs circled around him. After a long while, a vast aura rippled outward from his body. His robes fluttered as Gongyang Su slowly opened his eyes. Before him, the projection finally solidified. Heaven's End, Ocean's Edge, Marshall Pass, 10-Mile Slope, Blackwater Lake, Chaos Cloud Ravine, 100 Flowers Valley. Gongyang Su muttered these place names indistinctly. Then, with a wave of his right hand, a sheet of golden paper flew out from the void. He used his finger as a brush, imprinting the projected scenes onto the golden paper. The projection gradually dispersed. After a while, Gongyang Su stood. The heavens will formation stilled, the black and white energies dissipating. His complexion returned to normal and he looked around. Gongyang Su chuckled softly. Seems they're restless. No one will disturb you as long as I'm here, Su Zimo replied. The Mist Prime Emperor? Gongyang Su glanced upward at the figure still being struck by lightning and chuckled. What of the Shenyuan clan's whereabouts? Su Zimo asked. Did you hear what I just said? Gongyang Su replied. I heard, but it was a mess, hard to understand. Su Zimo shook his head. The Shenyuan clan's location is rather complicated. Gongyang Su handed the golden sheet to him. Su Zimo looked. It was filled with complex markings, and since he was not too familiar with the mortal ascension heaven, it was hard to parse. If the readings are correct, the Shenyuan clan should be within Heaven's End, Ocean's Edge, Gongyang Su said. And that is where? Su Zimo asked. You've heard of Saint Sovereign Brahma, haven't you? Gongyang Su asked. The only Saint Sovereign of the mortal ascension heaven? Of course. Su Zimo nodded. That Heaven's End, Ocean's Edge, is a particle world created by Saint Sovereign Brahma. Gongyang Su explained. Though it belongs to the mortal domain, it exists apart from both Azure Frontier and the four regions. How do I enter it? Su Zimo asked. Listen first, Gongyang Su said. Heaven's End, Ocean's Edge has 4 passes, each guarded by a heavenly king. When you arrive, go first to South Marshall Pass. Then, according to this route, 10-mile slope, Blackwater Lake, Chaos Cloud Ravine, 100 Flowers Valley. The Shenyuan clan should be in 100 Flowers Valley. As for entering Heaven's End, Ocean's Edge, it's not too difficult. You can go to Brahma City. There's a dedicated teleportation formation there. But not just anyone can enter. You'll see when you arrive. Su Zimo nodded, storing away the golden sheet. If you don't know the way, I could accompany you, Miss Jing suddenly offered. Jing, if you leave, who will I pass on my life's teachings to? Gongyang Su objected. Master, I'll only escort him there and return. Miss Jing smiled. No, what if this brat runs off with you? Gongyang Su shook his head firmly. He won't. If he wanted to, back in Primordial Heartlands he would have succeeded already. Miss Jing smiled. You should stay. I can make my way to Brahma City myself. Su Zimo refused her. After all, he still harbored many unanswered doubts. He couldn't yet place full trust in her. If you don't let me follow, then I'll insist on going, Miss Jing said. I happen to need to go to Brahma City too. Enough, enough. Gongyang Su relented. You two traveling together can watch each other's backs. I can't rest easy with her alone. At that moment, several young women entered from the ruined alleyway. Each carried a jar of wine. Master Su, our island mistress sent us to deliver this immortal brew to you, their leader said. Your island mistress is Fairy Moonpluck? Su Zimo asked. The women nodded. Tell her this immortal brew counts as a favor owed by me, but that favor may be large or small. If she wants me to slay the Elder Fiend, it's not that I don't dare, it's just not worth the price of that favor. I leave tranquil tomorrow. If she has other requests, I can help, so long as it's within the scope of that favor. Hearing this, the women looked at each other in surprise. Our island mistress said this has nothing to do with requesting your aid. The immortal brew is simply a gift, they replied. Take it back, Su Zimo waved. Why send it back? It's a gift. Gongyang Su interjected. How about this, let me keep it. I'll count it as owing Fairy Moonpluck a favor instead. Fair. The women hesitated briefly, then nodded and withdrew. I'll stroll around North River City. Tomorrow at dawn I depart, Su Zimo said. If you wish to come, meet me at the East Gate. Understood. Miss Jing smiled sweetly. After parting ways, Su Zimo left the alley. By now, Tranquil lay in ruins. He wished to see other places. Above, lightning still rained down, until finally the battered soul of the Mist Prime Emperor was utterly annihilated. As Su Zimo's figure faded into the distance, Gongyang Su narrowed his eyes. He still guards against you. Following him will only deepen his suspicions. If the current plan fails, we'll move to the next, Miss Jing replied. Staying close to his movements is what matters most. We can't let him stray beyond the plan. Don't worry, Gongyang Su chuckled. These are the 9 heavens, not the primordial heartlands. North River City had been divided into 4 sections. Tranquil was nearly destroyed, so Su Zimo came instead to heaven. The tremors in Tranquil had drawn much attention, and the people of heaven still watched closely. Because Su Zimo entered quietly, no one paid him much mind. He walked along heaven's bustling streets. From the roadside, a group of children ran past, carrying candied hawthorn skewers, humming a nursery rhyme as they went. Before all else came the Supreme. Before heaven itself, gods and demons came even before immortals and Buddhas. How could the 6 cycles of reincarnation be without limit? All things still cling to a single thread of heaven. In the primordial age the world raged, and myriad demons descended. The God King in fury tore away imperfect mountain. Vast heavens eternal, the multitudes weep. How could the primordial era be only tens of millions of years? A group of little children, no more than 7 or 8 years old, each holding a candied hawthorn skewer, ran through the streets shouting this rhyme. Su Zimo frowned slightly and stopped a few of them. Children, let me ask you something. NW novel chapters are published on novelfire.net. The kids looked at Su Zimo warily, their sense of caution surprisingly sharp. What is it? Asked the oldest one. The rhyme you were just singing. What does it mean? Su Zimo asked. You don't even know that? The child replied. That's the song of the heavens. To sing this song is to know past and present, discern rise and fall, preserve yin and yang, and thus understand the principles of the Grand Tao's workings. As the child spoke, he wagged his head around, imitating the manner of a schoolteacher. But the act looked odd, more like a child playing at it than anything real. Little second, what are you doing? A woman rushed over, holding a stick in her hand. She shouted, How many times have I told you not to play with that lunatic? Why are you with him again? Teacher isn't a lunatic. He even bought us candied haws. The child argued. You dare talk back? The woman roared and the stick came down. Su Zimo reached out and caught the stick before it struck. Who are you? The woman demanded, hand on her hip, glaring fiercely at Su Zimo. Blindly beating children isn't good. Su Zimo smiled calmly. Let me finish asking them my questions first. You want to know about that rhyme? The woman snorted. Go ask that lunatic yourself. Just stay away from my little second. Where is he? Su Zimo asked. Teacher is at Unfinished Palace. I'll take you there. The child who was about to be beaten quickly volunteered. What Unfinished Palace? It's just a run-down Taoist temple, the woman said coldly. Why does your teacher teach you those rhymes? Su Zimo ignored her and looked at the child instead. Teacher has a book, a very, very thick one, the child explained, stretching his hands to show. We peeked at it once. We only saw a single page, and that page had those words written on it. Later teacher wouldn't let us look anymore. He said the book could not be seen by anyone. Otherwise the world would fall into chaos. How do I get to Unfinished Palace? Su Zimo asked. Follow this street straight ahead. In the central plaza of heaven there's a Taoist temple. That's it, the child said, tugging at Su Zimo's sleeve. I'll take you. If teacher sees me with you, he'll surely teach you as well. The boy clearly knew that if he stayed behind, he'd suffer a woman's beating anyway. No need, you're busy getting beaten. I'll go myself. Su Zimo waved him off. As Su Zimo walked away, the child said nothing, but from the expression on his face, you could almost read the words. Damn, heartless. Walking along the main avenue, Su Zimo noticed that heaven was shaped like a circle. Unfinished Palace stood at the very center point of that circle. What surprised him was the desolation he found upon reaching the central area. Normally, the The heart of any city is its most prosperous part. But here there were hardly any buildings, and many of those that remained were old and decayed. Only a few scattered figures walked the streets. It was easy to spot the ruined Dao Temple at the center. Su Zimo walked toward it and stopped at the entrance. The hall was decrepit, most of its surrounding walls had collapsed, and many rooms had already turned to rubble. No one could say how long it had been abandoned. Only a single dilapidated main hall still stood, though it looked ready to collapse at any moment. Su Zimo found it strange. Why leave this ruin standing instead of rebuilding? Looking up, the three characters' unfinished palace glowed on a golden plaque. No matter how many ages had passed, those words still radiated a forceful majesty, as if the characters themselves were like pines upon high mountains, eternal, unrotting, indestructible. Entering unfinished palace, Su Zimo saw ruins everywhere. He walked up to the main hall, the only building still intact. Inside, an old man in long robes, hair disheveled, knelt half on the ground. Before him was a brazier, where it seemed he had just burned something. His lips muttered words, too faint to catch. Hearing footsteps, the old man slowly turned. When his gaze fell upon Su Zimo, his body froze. "Outside I heard some children singing that rhyme, so I came to see," Su Zimo said. The old man said nothing, only stared hard at Su Zimo. Then suddenly his eyes brimmed with tears. "You?" Su Zimo frowned slightly, puzzled at the strange reaction. "You have returned," the old man rasped hoarsely. "Do we know each other?" Su Zimo asked. "I once read a book, and in that book was your story." The old man suddenly laughed. "What book?" "The very rhyme you just mentioned." The old man pointed at the brazier. "I burned it." Su Zimo looked at him and asked, "Who are you?" "I've forgotten. So many things I can't remember anymore." The old man stood up, robes swaying as he paced the hall. "Don't you feel this place is familiar?" Su Zimo looked around. The hall was simple. At the front was a raised altar. Upon the altar stood a statue. Half of it seemed to have been chopped away. What remained resembled a monstrous Rakshasa. Her hair flared upward like a blaze, her body black as night, her right hand holding a long spear. At the foot of the altar lay a few worn meditation cushions. Su Zimo stepped closer and saw several plaques set beneath the statue. He looked carefully. Ancient Calendar Era, Seat of the Ancient Demon, Ragefire. Middle Unfinished Era, Seat of Ancient Demon Hellblade. Aside from these two intact plaques, the rest were shattered beyond recognition. "Demons," Su Zimo murmured. "I don't understand very well," he said, looking to the old man. "Do you know why Unfinished Palace has been abandoned for countless years, yet no one dares touch it?" The old man smiled. "I don't." Su Zimo shook his head. "Because in an age long past, this was once the place that ruled the entire mortal ascension heaven, issuing orders to all. Even though it has lain in ruins for countless years, not a single person dares destroy Unfinished Palace." The old man laughed. "If I do not speak in spring, what cicada would dare make a sound?" "Why did you burn that book?" Su Zimo asked. "No one must see it, and especially not you," the old man replied calmly. "You know what's in it?" Su Zimo pressed. "I don't know. I only remember that I was its keeper. But much else, I cannot recall." The old man shook his head. "What exactly did the book say?" "I don't know." The old man shook his head again. Su Zimo's eyes narrowed. He grabbed the old man's collar in one swift motion and said flatly, "Tell me, now." "I don't know." The old man still shook his head. Bang! The old man's body was hurled through the air and slammed heavily against the wall. "Life is no sorrow, death no torment." The old man chuckled softly, lifting his gaze toward Su Zimo. "You're not afraid of death?" Su Zimo walked toward him step by step. "I am," the old man admitted. "But if you demand to know what was in that book, I'd rather die." "Tell me your name," Su Zimo said. "Three," the old man answered calmly. "That's your name?" "Three." Su Zimo frowned. "A name is just a label. As long as someone calls me, what difference does it make which name it is? The old man replied. I've noticed something lately, Suzimo said. What? The old man asked. There are always some inexplicable people saying inexplicable things in front of me. Suzimo laughed lightly. I feel I'm very close to the truth, yet it's all mist and fog. I can't grasp it. Everyone is the same, the old man said. Don't overthink it. Just keep moving forward. Suzimo gave him one last glance, then turned and walked out of Unfinished Palace, leaving only one sentence behind. I will find all the answers. The old man chuckled again, watching his back fade into the distance. Slowly, he climbed back up from the floor, sat before the brazier once more, and muttered to himself, the 6 cycles of reincarnation. How could they be boundless? All things still cling to a single thread of heaven. Leaving Unfinished Palace, Suzimo's face was grim. Departing from the deserted central district, he returned to the bustling main avenue. The children from before were nowhere to be seen. He closed his eyes slightly, lost in thought. The endless flow of people streamed past, yet they seemed to belong to an entirely different world from him. Master, Hellblade, and Ragefire on those plaques. Both were among your 12 infernal archons. Paimon's voice echoed from within the god world. Have you ever heard of Unfinished Palace? Suzimo asked. Never. After the destruction of the blessed epic, many of us fell into slumber. In the first few years, I still heard fragments of news, but after that I slept completely, Paimon replied. This world is becoming more and more interesting, Suzimo chuckled. His gaze fixed ahead, and after a long silence, he seemed to make a firm decision. Shopkeeper, give me a fine guest room, Suzimo said as he entered a decent-looking inn. Right away. The worker wiping a rag hurriedly led him upstairs. Inside the room, Suzimo glanced around, then sat cross-legged on the bed. He needed to confirm something, though he didn't know if it would succeed. His soul sank into the god world. Without disturbing anyone, Suzimo silently observed the world of the god world. The countless beings below likely had no idea that everything about them was already laid bare before his eyes. The god world was like a vast prison, but in truth what world was not? As Suzimo looked upon the multitudes of the continent, he wondered, who could guarantee that there wasn't someone watching over all the beings of the 9 heavens? Including himself? His gaze calm, Suzimo raised his right hand. In the endless void, clouds roiled and spiritual energy surged. The primordial chaos bead flew forth from the depths of the void. Within the transparent orb seemed to dwell an entire miniature world. Towering forests, herds of beasts, soaring mountains, magnificent rivers, a complete world contained within a tiny bead. It was as though everything had been condensed into this single sphere. Held in his palm, the power of chaos spread forth, flooding into Suzimo's limbs, bones, and organs. For one answer, even death would not matter, he murmured. Clutching the primordial chaos bead, its power blazed across the heavens. A rift tore open before him. Without hesitation, Suzimo stepped through. The scene shifted instantly. He now stood in another world. This chapter is updated by NovelFire.net. The world was vast beyond measure. Above him hung the clouds of godly extinction, a force even more terrifying than heavenly tribulation itself. One strike could reduce even a grand emperor to dust. All around stretched a meandering river, endless and unfathomable. It was heavy and thick, impossible to discern. Anyone probing with their sea of consciousness would find however much they sent, that much devoured. This was the river of fate. Not the river of fate of the primordial heartlands, but of the entire 9 heavens. Though Suzimo could reach this place with the primordial chaos bead, peering into the river of fate was another matter entirely. Not only was the backlash of the river unimaginably severe, but above loomed godly extinction, a blade ready to fall at any moment. Still, Suzimo came, for the sake of the doubts in his heart. With the primordial chaos bead in hand, its chaotic power formed a spherical barrier around him. He stepped toward the river of fate. The river too was a tapestry of all things, gods and demons standing tall, immortals and Buddhas enduring forever. Mountains and seas, 9 phoenixes soaring, sunsets blazing, moons chasing stars. Endless visions glimmered within the current. The river of fate had no end, nor did its phenomena. They stretched on as the river wound into eternity. Boom! Su Zimo's arrival seemed to stir heaven's wrath. The godly extinction above grew violent. Lightning crackled across the skies. Bolts as thick as mountains came crashing down with annihilating force. Boom! 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 Su Zimo tilted his body, narrowly evading the first strike. But the execution grew only more violent. One after another, countless bolts rained down, like a torrential storm, enveloping Su Zimo completely. The endless sky shook. The might of godly extinction destroyed all, erased all, consumed all. Su Zimo's figure was swallowed entirely. Yet the extinction did not relent. Bolts kept falling from above, covering everything but the river of fate itself. Nothing survived. As if to declare, any who dare approach the river of fate shall find no path to live. The godly extinctions raged for nearly half an hour. Only then did they slowly fade away, and the annihilated void returned to silence. The river of fate still flowed on, calm and steady, as though nothing had ever happened. Yet deep within the void, a faint light flickered, leaping across time and space unnoticed by anyone. Looking closely, at its core lay a bead, the primordial chaos bead. It carried Su Zimo's divine soul, threading its way through the countless bolts of godly extinction. Like a lone skiff in a storm-tossed sea. But this seemingly ordinary skiff was one the storm could not overturn. The heavenly strikes could not destroy it. It passed through layer after layer of void, drawing ever closer to the river of fate. Just as it neared, the vast river suddenly stirred. With a thunderous crash, its waters churned, sweeping through the void. The primordial chaos bead was instantly hurled far away. Su Zimo's eyes hardened. His soul emerged from the pearl, primordial chaos bead in hand, primordial energy spreading across his body. Even with Heaven-Earth Dharma Codex and God-Demon Creation Atlas, before the river of fate he was still insignificant. Open! Su Zimo roared. He wrapped himself in the primordial chaos bead and charged straight into the river of fate. The river split open a gap, and his figure vanished within. The river of fate roiled, shaking the entire void. Outside, godly extinction raged, endlessly searching for Su Zimo. But it dared not strike, for fear of harming the river of fate. Only after a long while did the river gradually calm, and the heavenly wrath fell silent forevermore. Then, in that empty world, there was a bang. Su Zimo was flung out of the river. Blood spilled into the void. Clinging to the primordial chaos bead, he hastily retreated. Tearing through the void, his body, battered and bleeding, fell back into the god world. Master! Paimon and the others rushed to him. But thanks to the tree of life within him, his wounds were already beginning to mend. I'm fine. Su Zimo waved off their attempts to heal him. How did you end up like this? Infernal Archon Sevenface asked. In his memory, Su Zimo had never suffered such severe injuries. And with Su Zimo's usual caution, he would never throw himself into danger recklessly. Su Zimo did not answer. His eyes stayed calm as he gazed at the sky. He had gone to the river of fate to confirm several doubts. The identity of Miss Jing, the identity of Elder Zhua, and the identity of the old man from Unfinished Palace. He had barely glimpsed Miss Jing's identity and nearly lost his soul. Before he could even peer into the unfinished elder's fate, the backlash had already struck. That horror was unlike anything Su Zimo had ever known. He hadn't even the power to flee. If not for the primordial chaos bead dragging him out, he would truly have been erased into nothingness. The backlash of the river of fate depended on the importance of what one sought. If he probed the fate of an ordinary mortal, he could endure it. Miss Jing's fate was terrifying, but he survived. But the old man of Unfinished Palace, Su Zimo hadn't even begun. and already he was nearly destroyed. As for Elder Zhua, he hadn't even had the chance to look. Su Zimo fell silent. He felt as if everything was part of a vast snare. From the moment he became this generation's infernal lord, from the moment of his resurrection, someone had been laying out the pieces. He rose slowly from the ground. "Master, are you truly all right?" Paimon and the others asked in concern. "I'm fine." Su Zimo shook his head. "But we need to move faster." "You mean to break the seal on the primordial demon cave?" Paimon asked. "Yes. Otherwise, our strength is still too thin." Su Zimo nodded. After a few brief instructions, he withdrew from the god world. Though doubts gnawed at his heart, now was not the time to return to the river of fate. He rested a night at the inn. The next morning, Su Zimo arrived at the northern gate. Miss Jing was already waiting there. "You're late," she smiled. "No matter, I knew you'd wait," Su Zimo replied. "Let's rent an airship," Miss Jing suggested. "That way we can reach Brahma City quickly and safely, without trouble along the way." Su Zimo nodded. "I don't know the customs here. You handle it." The most update N0vels are published on novelfire.net. The two walked together toward Heaven's docking grounds for airships. As they went, Miss Jing explained, Brahma City was founded by Saint Sovereign Brahma himself, meant to link the ends of heaven and sea. "And what exactly is this so-called Heaven's End, Ocean's Edge?" Su Zimo asked. "An ancient land left behind from bygone eras," Miss Jing replied. "Our 9 heavens have passed through 4 great ages, the primordial, the ancient, the desolate, and the Middle Age. The first 2 are nearly unseen today, but after the fall of the desolate and Middle Ages, many ancient lands remained. Those places are rich in spirit force and full of opportunities. Many people dwell within them." During his life, Saint Sovereign Brahma discovered that particular ancient land at the world's edge, and of course it fell under his control. Later, when he vanished, it passed into the hands of his sect, the Brahma monarch god realm in the west. Su Zimo nodded slightly. As they spoke, they arrived at the airship docks. Before their eyes stretched fleets of millions of airships. Like aircraft carriers, they had the shape of great vessels, yet each bore 2 wings. With booming roars, the ships soared overhead, swift as lightning. They ran only on spirit stones, fast, reliable, and convenient. Once, in North River City, there was a superpower called the Gong Sun Imperial Clan, Miss Jing said. Their founder, Gong Sun Shu, was a true genius of mechanisms. He believed machinery could replace manpower. He invented these airships. They spread across the 9 heavens like wildfire. And his battle puppets, the strongest of them, could fight even grand emperors. "So powerful?" Su Zimo raised a brow. "I'm telling you, the other 8 domains look down on us here in the mortal ascension heaven, thinking it's the most backward world." Miss Jing laughed softly. "But even here, people have risen to fame across all 9 heavens. They reached the rental yard. But to their surprise, every airship had already been taken. There were no private rentals left, only shared passage with others." Miss Jing frowned slightly. It was the first time she'd ever heard of ships running out. After all, North River City was the birthplace of airships. Such a thing had never happened before. "Where are you headed?" the manager asked. "To Brahma City," Miss Jing replied. "Perfect," the manager chuckled. "There's a ship bound for Brahma City right now. You two can share it with the others."